Good afternoon.
Click.
My name is Christina
Good
Castro, the
afternoon.
liaison to the Board of Governors, and thank you for joining
Thank you
us for
for
the
joining
California
us
Community Colleges Board of Governors meeting.
for
The meeting
Board of
begins at
Governors
12:30 p.m., but we will wait a couple minutes for people to log in. In the meantime, to
We will
access the
wait
Board of Governors meeting
couple of
agenda,
minutes.
please visit our website at
Please visit our website.
www.ccccco.edu and go to the About Us tab, drop-down menu. From there, click the Board of Governors, then Meeting Schedule, Minutes, and Agenda, and select the blue agenda hyperlink. As a reminder, closed caption is available. Click the CC icon at the bottom of the screen, labeled closed caption to read live captions. Members of the public wishing to comment on an agenda item may use the raise hand feature on the Zoom platform to make a verbal public comment to the board. A member of the Chancellor's office will announce your name and grant you the ability to speak. You are requested to identify yourself and present your public comment at that time. President Haynes, today is January 19th, 2021, and we are ready to begin.
Thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Governors meeting. Can we start the roll call, please?
I will begin roll call now. Hildegard B. Aguinaldo.
Here.
Darius W. Anderson.
Here.
Amy M. Costa.
Present.
Tom Epstein.
Here.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
She may have had to step out for a moment.
Yes. Colin Fitzgerald.
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm present. This is Felicia Escobar Carrillo. I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Thank you. Jolena M. Grande.
Here.
Pamela Haynes.
Here.
Kevin J. Hall.
Sorry. Here.
Thank you. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Present.
Jennifer L. Perry.
Here. Excuse me.
Bill Rawlings.
Present.
Valerie L. Shaw.
Here.
Yulia Tarasova.
Present.
Blas Villalobos.
Here.
Joseph R. Williams.
Here.
We have 16 board members present and quorum is established.
Thank you. So I would like to call on Member Fitzgerald to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
You got it. Thank you very much. All right, we'll begin right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Colm. So I'm going to move to 2.1, which is the closed session. The board's general counsel has advised the board leadership that there is no need for a closed session. So therefore we can move to the president's report, and that is me, or I, as the case may be. So first, this is my first full meeting. So I want to welcome all of my colleagues. I know it's our second meeting of the day, members, but this is our first full meeting of the Board of Governors. And I wanted to just say a couple of words about this new year that is both, I think, will provide opportunities and challenges as well. And last year I spoke a little bit about my background, and hopefully for you to have a better understanding of who I am. But I also want you to know that my goal as president of the board is to listen intentionally and intently, to collaborate in any possible ways that I can, and to act as someone who unifies and not divides. I've tried to do that through my tenure on the Los Rios board, my work with the league, and in particular my work in my community work that I've done as outside of my job when I was working in the legislature. I also want to focus in on some of the things that I feel passionately about, because I would need you to know that I'm going to work tirelessly and hopefully in collaboration with you to ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the center of all of the decisions that we make here on the board, collectively as a board, that our deliberations are always to keep students in mind. We worked tirelessly and with great intent around the vision for success. And so I want to make certain that that vision is manifested and actualized in what actually happens with regard to student outcomes. And then I also want to reflect that as a system, it is our work relative to policy, relative to advocacy, to face all of the challenges, but all of the opportunities that we are going to face as a board, that the system is going to face together. I really want to emphasize the together piece. We are big. We are the biggest system in the country. We have an obligation, and I think, and I don't even think I need to repeat this, but I'm going to, because I think every one of you, myself included, applied and got appointed by our respective governors at the time to do this kind of work. And so it's now more than ever, we need to stay focused. We need to stay intent on making certain that in our deliberations and in the work we do in the Capitol and any place else that we do it, that we speak as much with a single voice as we possibly can. We come from varying backgrounds, but those varying backgrounds is the strength that lies within this body. We have different experiences and different perspectives. I encourage all of us to put that together, because at the end of the day, that will make for better policy. It will make for better solutions, what I will call elegant solutions, as a result of us speaking up and talking about and trying to solve problems together. Everyone has a role to play, and your voices are very, very important. I want to talk a little bit about the agenda. And thank the staff for trying to narrow down the decisions we have to make. But I do want to point to two areas. They are information items. One of them is on the budget, and the other one is on AB 705. Both of those are linked, and they're critically important. I believe that AB 705 can be transformational for the students that are in most need of the educational advantages that community colleges offer. AB 705 was a needed reform that we have implemented, and that particular presentation is critically important for our understanding of what we've done, what the faculty has done, what the administrators have done system-wide, and then what still needs to be done. Nothing happens at the click of a finger or a snap of a finger. It requires looking at what our successes are and where our challenges are, and to speak honestly and intentionally about that. And it will give us an opportunity to do that. The budget is in the same vein. We are going to be challenged, but that doesn't mean that we cannot be forceful in keeping our values and our priorities center stage on what it is we need and what it is that our students need. And then the other thing I'd like to say, because I'm trying to keep this short, is I so wanted to get out of 2020, and we are out of it. But I've had to take off my rose-colored glasses because they have been smashed. Because the reality is that with the good comes real challenges. I'll give an example that's somewhat political, and that is on January 5th, Georgia came in and did the work of voting for two senators. That was a 10-year advocacy on the ground work on January, and so we have to celebrate that. On January 6th, our democracy was challenged at the seat of the democracy, and so we are going to have uneven work to be done, and there are good people to do it. What we saw on the 6th does not reflect all of America. It does reflect a real part of our challenges as Americans, but there are good people to do this work. I know because I'm working with them here today, and I work with them in many aspects of my of the work that I'm doing. So I know that work will continue, and it is really truly important. So I want to thank you, because you are volunteering your time and your effort. And I want you to know that it is recognized by me. And I know it is appreciated not only by me, but by the Chancellor's Office and all of our partners in this work. That includes the faculty, it includes the administrators, it includes everyone who cares about the issues and the policies that we try to create and to do good. And so with that, I will end my remarks and ask our Chancellor for his report.
All right. Thank you, Board President Haynes, and welcome to you in your first meeting, full meeting. And of course, welcome to our Vice President of the Board, Amy Costa, and Happy New Year. It's a new year. It already feels like a whole year has passed since January 1, but we're happy to celebrate the new year in all that 2021 will bring. And with that, there is light at the end of the tunnel, as many of you have heard and have seen. The vaccine is making its way throughout communities all across the state. We stand ready to support Governor Newsom and his team in any way we can to roll out the vaccine. And of course, wait patiently as our educators wait for their vaccination so that we can begin the process of planning to be back on campus at some point this fall. So we're excited about that. That is certainly something to look forward to. The sooner we can get there, the sooner we can begin to put COVID-19 in the rearview mirror, which I'm sure we all look forward to. I also am excited about what the new administration will bring. We are prepared to celebrate the inauguration of the 46th president, Joseph R. Biden, tomorrow, and of course, California's own Vice President, Kamala Harris. That will be another exciting opportunity to see democracy in action, and we very much look forward to that. And with that, of course, I want to recognize and welcome Miguel Cardona as the next Secretary of Education. As he assembles his team at the Department of Education, we stand ready to support him and work closely with him as the largest system of higher education in the nation to guide and to lead the way toward an equitable recovery with community colleges at the center of that recovery. So I look forward to that as well. And We also had the governor's budget proposal introduced this month. And it had good news. Good news given where we thought we were going to land. While a lot of the good news is one-time in nature in terms of the funding that's available, we will take any and all the good news that we can get. Most importantly, I want to thank the governor for putting our students at the center of his budget. Our students will receive significant amount of relief through direct emergency aid and other resources to help them recover from the pandemic, help those who had to stop out or had to take less courses during the pandemic and get them back into class. And put them in a position where they can meaningfully be part of the economy that's going to grow out of this this recession. So we look forward to working with the governor, and I have to thank his team, Senior Advisor Londa Josie, and of course the entire Department of Finance team, and as well as the Lieutenant Governor, who I know continues to be a strong advocate for our students in the community colleges. I also want to highlight a couple of things that we should expect to hear and see this year. There's going to be a lot of attention on transfer. Several organizations are writing about transfer. Transfer is an important part of recovering with equity, ensuring that more students that reflect the diversity of California see themselves in the California State University system, the University of California, and our private nonprofits. Just last week, Assemblymember Mark Berman held a select committee meeting to highlight transfer. I was joined by my colleagues, Michael Drake in the UC, our new Chancellor of the CSU, Joe Castro, and of course, Kristen Soares from AICCU. We had a very positive conversation about transfer and a very positive conversation on a topic that you'll be hearing more about, which is dual admissions. As opposed to dual enrollment, we're also going to be talking about dual admissions. So what I mean by that, if a student cannot get into the university of their choice as a high school senior, there are ways that we can build a dual admissions process so that they are admitted to their campus of choice, but complete their major prep at a community college. And then in their junior year, have a seamless transition to their campus. So we're going to be working on those ideas. I think all of the segment leaders were very positive about that. And I think it would be a huge step forward for community college students to see really for the first time being able to enroll in a community college and knowing exactly where they're going and how they're going to get there. I'm also happy to report that our system webinars continue again in 2021. We kicked off the year with a feature on the equity plans. Dr. Stella Ben-Simon and her colleagues from the Center for Urban Education at USC joined us, as well as Dolores Davidson, our Academic Senate President, and the leadership of the SSCCC. So we hope that you continue to tune in to those webinars when you have a chance. I think they're all very important topics, and I really love to see all of our colleagues in the system and outside of the system really own the vision for success and help us move it forward. So I spoke a little bit about the vaccines and the way that we're stepping up, and just to illustrate that, the Office of Emergency Services has asked campuses to step up and make their campuses available for vaccine distribution. And 44 of our campuses have volunteered thus far. Some of them are already doing that work. El Camino, for example, has got their doors open, and several of our other campuses as well. So we very much look forward to supporting this effort and helping to get the vaccine out as quickly as possible. And then a few last couple of items to note. The Chancellor's Office team is right back to work again in 2021, working on the student-centered funding formula. We're going to be releasing a dashboard and planning simulations to the field here shortly. This is going to give a tremendous amount of information and data for campuses to model their SCFF distributions and help them better understand how the actions that they're taking affects the Student Center funding formula. So I want to thank Vice Chancellor Navarrete and her team. She'll be sharing more information during her presentation, and we will agendize this at the March meeting as well. There's been a lot of discussion, as I'm sure many of you have heard and read, about Peralta and the actions that the Board of Governors is or is not taking at this meeting. And I just want to remind our viewers, there is no action item related to Peralta on this board agenda. Our office continues to work closely with ACCJC, the Accrediting Commission, as well as FCMAT and others, and we're monitoring the situation there closely. It's important to remember that there's really only two primary reasons why the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors would assume responsibility for the district. And that is if the district and its campuses are on the verge of losing their accreditation, or if they are on the verge of not being able to meet their fiscal obligations. And so we are monitoring both and working with all of the partner organizations that share in the responsibility to make sure that Peralta is serving its students. And we are working directly with the interim chancellor and the board leadership. So we're going to continue that. And we will have more to say about where Peralta is on the recommendations and timelines that they've submitted at the March meeting. And then finally, I just want to remind everyone that the Chancellor's Office continues to work with various constituents all across the system to streamline the various participatory governance committees that we have in groups. We want to make certain that everyone's time is put to as effective use as possible. It takes time for our team, our small but mighty team, to go through all of those machinations, particularly in an environment where we can't meet in person. But I just want to assure every constituent group that that is happening with the intention of ensuring that their voice continues to be at the center of the decision-reaching process, and that we value every single constituency. Yes, there will be some proposed changes along the way, but we're going to continue to work with the constituent groups to ensure that their voice is put to as good of use as possible, particularly in the environment that we're struggling to work through. So with that, I look forward to the remainder of the meeting, and again, Happy New Year. I look forward to a great 2021.
Thank you, Chancellor Oakley. We're going to move to the consent item. Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Haynes, board members. Good afternoon. And the item that is in front of you under consent, item 3.1, has the meeting minutes from your November meeting. I am happy to answer any questions you may have, or if you caught anything, we are happy to make the correction. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing that there's none, can I get a motion to approve and a second?
So moved, Anderson.
Okay, Anderson moved. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Aguinaldo, I'll
We beat you out, Hildy. Perry seconds the motion. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo.
Aye.
Darius W. Anderson.
Yes.
Amy M. Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein.
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo.
Aye.
Colm Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Jolena M. Grande.
There.
I'll move on. Pamela Haynes.
Aye.
Kevin J. Hall.
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Aye.
Jennifer L. Perry.
Aye.
Bill Rawlings.
Aye.
Valerie L. Shaw.
Aye.
Yulia Tarasova.
Next year.
Oh, excuse me. Blas Villalobos.
Aye.
Joseph R. Williams.
Aye.
And once more, Jolina M. Grande. All right.
President Haynes, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I ruffle paper, so I put myself on mute so I don't disturb everybody else. Our next items are action items. 4.1 is on the foundation board appointment. We have Keitha Mills with us to present.
Thank you, President Haynes and Vice President Costa. I appreciate the opportunity to present this item on behalf of the Board of Directors for the Foundation for California Community Colleges. I'd like to start by recognizing the service of former board member Fariel Govashiri, who has resigned her position in December. Fariel has been on the board, was on our board for a couple of years. She's was really fantastic. She's the chief of staff to the co-CEO of Netflix and was a former personal assistant to former President Barack Obama. So came to us with a wealth of knowledge and connections, really passionate about our students and our work, but decided after a couple of years at the statewide level that she really wanted to make an impact at the local level. So I was pleased to introduce her to Francisco Rodriguez with LACCD, and she is now pursuing membership on the LACCD Foundation Board, which I think will be really impactful. And so I hope you guys will all join me in thanking Fariel for her service at the statewide level. And I know that she will continue to be a great friend and great advocate at the statewide level and will make tremendous impact for our students there in her home region. And so with Fariel's resignation, that opened up a seat on the foundation board. And so at our December meeting, the Foundation Board of Directors voted unanimously to move the nomination of Kwesi Edwards forward for a new 4-year term that would run January 21 through January of 2025. Kwesi is an executive with Amazon Web Services, brings tremendous expertise both in the technology world, but also in entrepreneurialism, which will be really beneficial for us in our work. He was introduced to us a little bit over a year ago, and we invited him to join as a member of the public, to be an inaugural member of our board, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And he has been super engaged and really helpful in our work in creating our own framework and providing best practices and giving us connections to folks at Amazon about some of the struggles they're having and some of the solutions that they're coming up with. So with this resignation, the board really jumped at the opportunity to recommend Kwesi for board membership. He is really passionate about the California community colleges and our students, and is excited and honored to be considered for this position. Kwesi will also be the first African-American to join the board of directors for the Foundation for California Community Colleges. So we're really excited about this added diversity and the skill set that he'll bring to our board. So with that, I recommend that the Board of Governors ratify the appointment of Kwesi Edwards to the board of directors for the Foundation for California Community Colleges for a 4-year term running from January 2021 to January 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Keitha. So this opens up an opportunity for board members to comment or ask questions.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
So we have
Andrew.
a move by our Lieutenant Governor, and we have a second by Mr. Anderson. So again, are there any questions or comments relative to this this item?
My raise hand doesn't work, so I'm being very literal today. President Haynes, I just want to say he'll really be an excellent addition to the board. His experience rounds out the board really nicely. It's different from the other board members, and also the diversity he brings to the board is important to understate at the greatest level. So I think we're really looking forward to having him serve with the foundation and enriching all that we do.
Well, thank you for that. And I just want to add my congratulations and to commend you, Keitha, for having a real skill and astute eye for those who can serve on the foundation board. I've been very pleased with the vast experience that come onto your board, our board, to provide their expertise and their contribution to community college students. The work and the funding that that the foundation receives is so beneficial. We can see it when the issues of fires, we see it in the pandemic of really coming out and going out throughout the state and working on behalf of our students and our faculty. So thank you so very much. So with that, if there's no other comments, can I get a roll call on this item?
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo,
An enthusiastic aye.
Darius W. Anderson,
Yes.
Amy M. Costa,
Aye.
Tom Epstein,
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo,
She had to step away. So.
I see, Colin Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jolena M. Grande,
Aye.
Pamela Haynes,
Aye.
Kevin J. Hall,
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis,
Aye.
Jennifer L. Perry,
Aye.
Bill Rawlings,
Aye.
Valerie L. Shaw,
Aye.
Blas Villalobos,
Aye.
Joseph R. Williams.
Aye.
President Haynes, this is Andrea. I just want to make note for the record that we did not have any public hands raised for public comment on this item.
Thank you. So our next item is 4.2, which is the approval of contracts and grants. Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Haynes and board members. I will be quick. You only have one contract in front of you. It is a 3-year contract. As you know, we have been playing catch up. State agencies have never been good about technology. You know, in a matter of 72 hours, we took all of our staff to an online environment, providing laptops. However, a lot of our programs and processes are still paper-based. One of the challenges this year, and one of the improvements, however, has been the way that we handle contracts and grants in this office. A lot of it has been automated. We've have Adobe Sign now, believe it or not, that was brand new in the year 2020. And in 2021, we would like to bring this agency into the future for 2 key reasons. The first is the number of contracts and grants is enormous. And 2, the most important reason, which is the transparency that we have committed to in your new standing orders. Simply Gov is an automated system that will allow us to track all of our contracts and grants. In the first year, it is a major investment. These are general fund Chancellor's Office dollars, $150,000 that came out of our technology platform. It took us some time to really plan for this purchase. Ongoing, it is a sustainable dollar amount for this agency, but it is hundreds of contracts and grants that on the back end, given your new standing orders, we will be able to print reports of where those dollars went, what we did with those dollars, and what are the intended outcomes that were assumed when we entered into these contracts. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the contract that is in front of you.
Are there any questions of Vice Chancellor Gonzalez? Well, just, okay, I'm sorry, who spoke?
I'll move the item.
Can I get
I'll
a second?
second.
Mr. Hall moved it. And who seconded?
No, it was Epstein first.
Epstein and Rawlings.
Thank you. I would just say, and I think this is wonderful, the role of automation and what I have found in my career, it takes a crisis to move for change. It's on our calendars. It's on things to do, but it requires a a crisis in order to make it an imperative, moves it up on the priority change. And so it's a good thing relative to where many systems have to go, state systems, as well as our community colleges. We even when we think that we are automated, it takes something like this to say, oh, but we're not automated here, or we're not automated in the way we should be, in order to one, expedite and to move decision making and all kinds of other protocols and practices. So it's a good thing, and I'm really glad to see that you were able to respond in the way that you did. So, and I know that our chancellor's staff and office folks, they have risen to the challenge, and I want to thank them for the work that they've done under this crisis, because I know it can't be easy. So thank you again. So with that, and I don't see any other questions, can we call the roll?
Oh, I'll announce for public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment, forgive me.
Sure. The public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
Board President, there does not appear to be any hands raised for public comment.
Okay, so can we now move for a roll call vote, please?
Sounds good. Hildegard V. Aguinaldo.
Aye.
Darius W. Anderson.
Aye.
Amy M. Costa.
Aye.
Tom Epstein.
Aye.
Felicia Escobar Carrillo. Cullum Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Jolena M. Grande.
Aye.
Pamela Haynes.
Aye.
Kevin J. Hall.
Aye.
Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis.
Aye.
Jennifer L. Perry.
Aye.
Bill Rawlings.
Aye.
Valerie Lynn Shaw.
Aye.
Blas Villalobos.
Aye.
Joseph R. Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Our next item is a first reading. It is 5.1 proposed regulatory action on
Pam, you sound weird.
education, attendance,
Vice President Costa, would you like to
hearing,
chime in?
travel. The
I
public
think
hearing
you're-
on item five,
Yeah,
sections
we're having
is now
technical
open.
difficulties.
Public hearing is, the floor is open for comments.
Pam, there were some technical difficulties with your audio, so I don't know if you want to kind of reread the item just for transparency for the public.
Yes, thank you for that. So item 5.1 is the first reading and public hearing for proposed amendments to Title V of the California Code of Regulations, amending sections 58003.1 and 58009 related to the accounting of distance education courses.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Member and Board President Haynes and members of the Board of Governors. My name is Lizette Navarrete, and today I am bringing to you the first reading for a proposed regulation change. Under existing regulations, they prescribe attendance accounting methodologies. And in our rapid transition to distance ed, one key discrepancy emerged. That discrepancy is around compressed calendar courses that are offered in a distance ed modality. Under regulations, distance ed courses under compressed calendar courses are yielding a lower FTES. that results in lower funding for these types of classes. Compressed calendar courses often include late start classes, bridge programs, accelerated programs, and others. Many of our districts offer these as part of their menu of types of courses that they offer. The regulation change that you are seeing is being brought before you and includes two components. One, to address the deficiency in this regulation. What it would do is ensure that all that courses would receive the same FTES yield regardless of the methodology in which they're answered or offered. So no longer would distance ed courses earn less FTES than if they were offered as a face-to-face class. We are also making that subsequent change to lab courses and ensuring that they don't have a lower FTES yield and as a result, lower funding for these classes. More details are provided to you in the digest and we've included an attachment with the delineated regulations and the proposed change. Happy to take any questions and take it back to you, Board President Haynes. Thank you.
Thank you. I understood that some people couldn't hear me, so I've raised my volume. Are you having a problem with me now? Okay, all right, thank you for that. So are there questions from the board members?
This is Trustee Williams. I do have a question. Thank you for the presentation. From a strategy standpoint, would this help students, thinking about reducing the number of units that students take? Like, would this incentivize, do you think this will incentivize more districts to have more compressed course offerings? I participated in the Weekend Express program, and it basically allowed students to accumulate a sizable number of units and really accelerated my graduation. Do you think that this helps with that, accelerating courses, or do you think districts will be incentivized by this to offer compressed courses at a greater number?
Thank you for that question, Board Member Williams. What this regulation would actually do is remove a disincentive that exists in offering those classes as distance ed. So right now, they were actually earning less resources if these classes were offered online. And so it just ensures that it is an option as they look at the composition of their classes and how to structure classes and how to offer them to students in the method and modality that they're looking for them. So in many ways, it can be used to support a greater array of options. We also want colleges to be cognizant that the courses that they are encouraging students to take align with the pathway and ultimately transfer or lead to a wage earning job. But thank you for raising that.
Are there other questions from the board members?
Pam, I have just a comment. This is Amy. So I have no problem with this. I think this item makes perfect sense, but I also hope that, we were kind of forced and our districts did a really good job reacting to the pandemic to do things in a completely different way. But I also think there's kind of these more long-term policy questions maybe that we should be considering as we move forward about kind of, much do we look at the calendar when we're determining things like how to calculate FTEs? And anyway, I just hope the Chancellor's Office is thinking about some of the things that we've done on a more temporary basis and whether or not there might be more long-term policies we want to consider to give districts more flexibility.
Thank you. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, I have a follow-up to that. How long have these courses been around for, these compressed courses? And is this amendment that we're talking about, was it provoked by the COVID crisis, or has this been something you've been considering for a couple of years?
Let me answer, I'll start with the second component first. So we recognize the discrepancy in funding yield or FTES yields amid this pandemic. So when when colleges transition their courses online. We heard from many groups of faculty as well as administrators that they were seeing lower FTES as they calculated their attendance. When we looked at this, we realized that if they offered that class in a distance ed form, they were, the formula was creating lower resources. And so we're fixing that so that colleges can have the ease of offering these classes, crafting their schedules without those differences in face-to-face over distance ed. To the second piece of your question, how long have these existed? They've been around for a long time, and this discrepancy was probably put in place when we, in the people in my role many decades ago assumed that distance ed would not be offered at the wide scale that it has been this past year.
Other questions from the board?
Yeah, when you say distance ed, because every time I think of distance ed, I'm thinking not non-credit. But since everything is online now, are you calling online distance ed in this instance?
That is correct.
Okay, so but every course right now is considered will be distance ed.
That is correct.
Okay, so okay.
Other questions from the board? Not seeing any hands raised, or I will go to public comment. Is there any?
Public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling in to the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
Board President, I do not see any hands raised for the members of the public.
Thank you. Given that we don't have any additional members in public comment to speak on this issue and hearing none, this public hearing is closed. And this concludes the public hearing on this matter. We are now going to move to our information reports, 6.1. And I'm now lost again. 6.1 is the Board of Governors Energy and Sustainability Awards Program. And Vice Chancellor Navarrete, it's your party again.
Vice Chancellor Navarrete, you are muted.
I apologize for that. Now I'm going to switch gears and talk about facilities and the extraordinary work that our colleges are doing in this realm. So I am pleased to bring to you the 2020 Board of Governors Energy and Sustainability Awards. This award was created in 2012 to recognize and honor exemplary energy and sustainability efforts across our California community colleges. There are awards offered in 3 key categories. So let me move through those. Next slide, please. The 3 key categories for which we offer awards are innovative projects, faculty and student initiatives, and sustainability champions. Next slide, please. So I am pleased to present to you one of our first honorees today. The award winner for Best Overall Innovative Project for a Large District goes to Contra Costa Community College District. Contra Costa Community College District's science facility. It's a new science facility that is bringing together many disciplines: biology, chemistry, and astronomy, physics, engineering, all into one central building. This facility is housing a planetarium, and the project's the first in the district to be designed to be a zero net energy ready building. It is innovative and inspiring the work of many buildings across our system and across this district. So I want to say congratulations to Contra Costa Community College District for their award and for their innovative efforts. Next slide, please. The award winner for Best Overall Innovative Project for a medium district goes to Citrus Community College District, Citrus College, the Retro Commissioning Project. The Retro Commissioning Project is a 3-phase project that looked at many complex facilities efforts. The project implemented automated control sequencings of thermal energy storage, thereby saving energy across the district. More importantly, this building also is addressing many sustainability challenges we face. And for districts and students, it is saving $225,000 annually just with the upgrades that they've been able to make in this project. So I want to congratulate Citrus College for their retro commissioning and for the extraordinary work that they've done, and congratulate them for Best Overall Medium District. Next slide, please. Our next award winner for Best Overall Innovative Project, Small District, is Hartnell College. Hartnell College began the work to design and install a 2.6 megawatt solar photovoltaic generating capacity on its main campus. They have been leaders in solar energy projects and focusing not only on their alignment with STEM curriculum and creating unique partnerships to engage their students in being leaders in sustainability and clean technology across their state and country. I want to commend Hartnell for their efforts that not only for engaging students, but ensuring that their facilities followed suit. Overall, this project will save $26 million to the district over the lifetime of this project. So congratulations to Hartnell for all of your efforts and as a winner of an innovative project. Next slide, please. Energy Excellence in Energy and Sustainability Faculty Student Initiative Award goes to the Los Angeles Community College District. This award is very important. The Board of Governors has selected, this is being recognized for an award for its focus on curriculum and promoting climate conscious behavior and thinking of materials and usage in learning as an engaging and trajectory for our students. The award was designed with materials that are compatible with asynchronous and online learning, and Save Energy While Schooling at Home videos have been part of their project. This innovative project includes the publication of the LACCD Sustainability Newsletter to discuss how climate crisis and climate injustice affects our communities, primarily those in the LA area. It is a student and faculty-led project that has reached many and is an example to our districts and communities across the state. So I want to thank and congratulate LACCD for this exciting award and thank the faculty and students that have led this effort. The next award, next slide please, is our final award, and it's the Excellence in Energy and Sustainability, the Sustainability Champion Award. This is a major award that goes to one individual that has really left a mark and has been innovating in the use of space, the use of clean energy and building design. This year, the award goes to Peter Hardash. He recently retired as the Business and Operations Officer for Rancho Santiago Community College District, and he's being selected as the 2020 awardee. Throughout his 28 years as a business officer, he ensured that his role always included engaging partnerships, effective use of space, and incorporated sustainability and progress towards those fronts through all the projects that he included throughout his district. He helped the district adopt a sustainability plan, led multiple bond efforts, effective use of Proposition 39 projects, and really created a culture on the campus that recognizes the importance of sustainable design. So I want to congratulate Peter Hardash for all of his efforts, congratulate him for this award as a 2020 Sustainability Champion. Next slide. Lastly, just want to thank and congratulate all of the 2020 Excellence in Energy and Sustainability awardees. Typically, we would bring them all up in front, take a picture and recognize them and thank them, but we'll do that virtually. And again, if you engage with any of these colleges, please congratulate them on their 2020 award. Thank you very much, President Haynes and members of the board. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Navarrete. Are there questions from my colleagues on the board?
If nobody else has anything, I just want to say one thing. I visited West LA and met Professor Cole as she was just getting started on her curriculum, and I'm so pleased that it's developed to a point where it's now getting an award. It's our part of an award, and I think the more colleges that can create a curriculum that helps students understand the impact of climate change and what they can do about it is vitally important. And I congratulate all the winners today. I think it's really exciting.
I have a comment.
Yes.
So I am 1000% behind providing awards for sustainability like we just did. Let's keep doing that. But my question is, do we give awards to professors or teachers inside the classroom for being the best astronomy professor, the best mathematics professor, physics? Do we have awards like that? I can't recall that I've seen that where professors are recognized for things going on in the classroom. Maybe it's unwieldy to do it through 114 different campuses.
Member Hall, we do have the Academic Senate, the statewide Academic Senate does recognize outstanding work of faculty. We get to celebrate that. I mean, matter of fact, today we celebrate some of that as well. So we certainly do work with and support statewide Academic Senate's work to recognize outstanding faculty who do the work of not just supporting our students, but going above and beyond. We don't do it by discipline, but we do work with the statewide Academic Senate to raise the outstanding work of our faculty. So I think you'll see more and more as we go through the year, and I'm looking forward to today's recognition as well.
Other comments? I just want to add my congratulations to the award winners and those who are recognized. As a trustee on a community college district, what I know that the issues of the environment and sustainability are key on our faculty members' minds as well as on administrators. They're trying to figure out in the use of materials to build buildings, in the use of landscaping, in the use of making certain that we try to keep the world a safer place, safe relative and saving relative to our environment. And I think I really do appreciate that this is being pushed down through Los Angeles Community College District to to our students. And in many ways, they are in the forefront of this work, and sometimes they don't get the recognition. And so highlighting that, I think, is critically important. So I want to thank everyone who participates in highlighting the work that's being done on our campuses. Is there any public comment on this particular item?
The public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
So we have one hand so far, Shayla Ariola Bittner. You have control of your mic and can address the board.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So as a community college student who is majoring in environmental science, and as someone who has done my own fair share of small student activism relating to environmental sustainability, I just wanted to say that I'm really happy to see that these awards were still relevant this year, because I know there was a lot going on relating to COVID-19 and the pandemic. And so I'm glad to see that there was still recognition for a lot of schools and districts and faculty and people who are really doing good work. I myself was actually not super aware of all this and the fact that these awards existed. So I'm glad to see that this has been going on for quite a while. Yeah, I just wanted to say kind of, I guess, to add to kind of what I heard mentioned earlier in regards to giving recognition for, students or faculty. My college does do something where the school does try to provide awards for student activism related to sustainability, and I believe that also extends to faculty, but I do think that it does really specifically highlight student activism. And so if that's something that if the board, I guess, is looking to kind of expand on that, maybe pushing for schools to have those kind of awards for their students could be another way in which we can expand on ensuring that environmental activism and projects and sustainability at the student level could really flourish at all these colleges. But yeah, that was just a comment and a suggestion, but overall, I'm really happy to see all the good work that is being done, and I look forward to seeing more in the future.
Thank you for your suggestion.
There are no further public comments.
Thank you. This is an information item, so we're going to move on to item 6.2, which is the Exemplary Program Awards. Executive Vice Chancellor Marty Alvarado will be presenter, and co-presenter will be Dolores Davison, President of the Academic Senate.
Good afternoon. Thank you, President Haynes, members of the board. I am very pleased to be with you this afternoon to introduce one of two awards that we issue in partnership with Academic Senate. Today we will be talking about the Exemplary Program Awards. As mentioned, I'm Marty Alvarado, Executive Vice Chancellor for Educational Services and Support. And this item announces the 2021 Exemplary Program Award recipients for recognition by this Board of Governors. And we are very excited to have this item presented by our Academic Senate President, Dolores Davidson, and look forward to hearing a few highlights from our three winners, Sierra College, Santa Barbara City College, and Ventura College. With that, I will hand it over to President Davison.
Thank you, Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado. Good afternoon, Board President Haynes, Vice President Costa, members of the Board of Governors. My name is Dolores Davison. I am the President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, and I'm very excited to be presenting the 2021 Exemplary Program Award recipients. First of all, I'd like to thank all the faculty who volunteered to read applications, all the programs that submitted awards, and a special thank you to the Foundation for California Community Colleges, which provides the monetary reward that comes with being named as one of the recipients of these awards. This award was first established in 1991, so we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of awarding the Exemplary Program Award. As with all things in our system, we have made significant changes over the years, and in the last 2 years, working with both the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion work plan that was approved by the Board of Governors back in the fall of 2019. We have implemented changes to the rubrics and the guiding measures by which these awards are presented. We have changed, for example, that there must be evidence. They must be evidenced and data-based that there have been changes that have impacted students along the diversity, equity, and inclusion guidelines. And so this year's theme, which I think is very appropriate, is equitable practices in a virtual educational environment, and programs which did an exceptional job in that. Can I get the next slide, please? I also want to point out, and Board Member Hall and others, we do have awards that are specifically faculty focused. That is the Hayward Award that is given to an exemplary faculty member from each of the 4 geographic areas in the state. Those are eligible for part-time and for full-time faculty. And those awards are typically given in April. And then the Regina Stanback Stroud Award, the Diversity Award, which is given to an exemplary faculty member for the diversity work that they do at a college. It's named for the former statewide Academic Senate President, Regina Stanback Stroud. Those applications, I believe, are coming due next couple of weeks. So we'll be happy to share those with you as well. And one of these days when we're in person, you'll get to take photos with all of the folks. So you can see the rubrics and the criteria for the awards on our website, which is available. I've put the links in there. If I can have the next slide. So we did have 2 honorary mentions or honorable mentions that I wanted to mention. One is College of the Canyons for their non-credit program, and the second is Oxnard College for their public safety program. Typically we do 2 honorable mentions and 2 award winners. This year the competition was so good that we actually have 3 award winners. We've asked each of the directors or leads for those programs to speak for no more than 2 minutes about their program. And so first up, I'm going to ask Program Director Sergio Acevedo from Sierra College's Undocumented Student Center to talk a little bit about his program. And thank you for advancing the slide. Nicely done.
Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Sergio, pronounced he, him, él, and I'm here on behalf of many committed stakeholders, let alone undocumented student scholars at Sierra College. What we provide is inclusive and safe educational environment where undocumented students and students of mixed status families are supported, even throughout a pandemic. And we're really excited that to have the support of not just the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges for selecting us for this award. There's also others. So I guess if I can just say this, I'm going to stick to the remarks. In doing so, and you all recognizing us, not only are you recognizing our Undocumented Student Center as an exemplary program, the Board of Governors, the Foundation, and our very own Sierra College Academic Senate, you all are demonstrating that you stand with dreamers and students, undocumented students, and students of mixed status families. In doing so, you're also advancing the mission of Immigrants Rising, which is our California Campus Fund grant administrator, which their mission with all of us is to empower undocumented young people to achieve educational and career goals through personal, institutional, and policy transformation. And none of it would have been possible if it wasn't for a tremendous and tenacious collaboration of Sierra College's people and partners, in particular our Undocu Advisory Board, which includes our Dream Club, Outreach, Admissions and Records, Financial Aid, Joe Avila, you're a heavy hitter indeed, ESL, Campus Life, Latino Leadership Council of Placer County. Also our past and current Undocu Center coordinator and consultants, Marisela Hernandez, our architect and engineer of the center, Garis Puente, our current person who is our marathon torchbearer of the center, various campus partners and so forth. So the deepest gratitude, of course, goes to Sierra College and undocumented student scholars. If it's not for them taking leadership roles as fellows, as peer leaders, as educators and volunteers, we, with, not for them, would not have established and sustained the center that they want, even during our pandemic. So thank you all for this opportunity. It brings us tremendous undocu joy to receive this recognition, along with all centers and programs throughout our system. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again. Next up, I'd like to see the next slide and ask Program Advisor Rebecca Bean to talk about Santa Barbara City College's The Well.
Thank you so much, President Davison. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here at the Board of Governors meeting, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Santa Barbara City College's The Well is honored to be selected as one of the recipients of this year's Exemplary Program Award. Thank you to the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges for recognizing the importance of mental health and wellness programming during such a difficult time for our community college students, staff, and faculty. In just 2 years, The Well has created and implemented a progressive wellness program that has become a beacon of support, healing, and innovation for the diverse SBCC community. Out of all California community colleges, The Well is proud to be the first freestanding wellness center offering holistic health and wellness workshops, skill building groups, group counseling, and events in addition to our student health and wellness services program. When faced with the pandemic, The Well seamlessly transitioned its in-person program to its online platform in order to create a supportive digital environment for students to gain equitable access to health and wellness education and resources. The Well, with a range of SBCC departments, programs, and external community partners, have worked passionately to empower students to become proactive around their health, create a community of wellness and support, and reduce stigma around mental health differences. I would like to give a special thanks to our Student Health and Wellness Director, Laura Ferris, for her unwavering support and leadership, and my dynamic colleagues, Allison Boswick, Betsy Phillips, and Lacey Peters, for helping The Well grow and flourish, and our fabulous personal counseling interns for all their hard work during this difficult time. A special thank you to our SBCC administration, especially President Goswami, Dr. Ralston, and Dean Johnson for championing our program always. And also thank you to SBCC Academic Senate and its president, Dr. Napoleon, and the Sabbatical and Faculty Recognition Committee and its president, Dr. Gerard, for all your support. So The Well's goal moving forward is to be able to share its innovative health and wellness program model and online platform with interested California community colleges, and for them to adapt the curriculum and resources to meet their specific student populations and programming needs. So we're excited to see where the program goes and to continue to expand and flourish. And thank you again so much for having us and for this incredible honor.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to recognize Ventura College's Faculty Academy and ask Professor Lori Moore to speak about their project.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here today and having the opportunity to accept this award. I'm just one of many faculty that needs to be recognized. Faculty Academy started about 7 years ago at Ventura College. And when we talk about equity, when we talk about inclusiveness, when we talk about the challenges that students who are underprepared or the ones that are classified in the equity gaps, we talk about them being unprepared, but they're not the only ones who are unprepared. Oftentimes the faculty are unprepared. And so Faculty Academy was born out of a need to address the issues that we wanted to see bringing that gap down and reaching the students that aren't traditionally reached. It's very easy to teach a teachable student, but very difficult to reach students who have, you know, challenges to their learning. Could be that they're veterans, the foster youth, all of our equity, racial and ethnic diversity students. And we wanted to be able to say, okay, the students might be unprepared, but are the faculty prepared? Because in this ever-changing demographics, we need to be prepared. And oftentimes faculty aren't actually taught how to teach. They're great in their fields, but they're not actually they haven't had any pedagogy themselves. So Faculty Academy was born out of that need. And what it is it's a group of faculty who come together, about 10 every year. This is a year-long program. There is a release time for the faculty to prepare. And it's a place for faculty to come together and have hard conversations. The challenges that we have in the classroom, the triumphs that we have. How do we reach the students? How do we teach the students? How do we support one another? And in best practices, in being culturally sensitive, and really just being vulnerable. It's so hard to be vulnerable, whether you're a brand new faculty or a seasoned faculty member, reaching out and saying, you know, I'm really not reaching the students that I need, and how can I do that? And that's what we provide. We provide for those faculty an opportunity to work together, to be vulnerable, to challenge each other, to support one another, and then go out and try new practices and come back and say, yes, this worked, or no, that didn't work. And I am so proud to have been a part of this. This is the 7th cohort that's starting right now. I've participated 4 years. Cami Algiers is the lead right now. I just retired, but they asked me to accept this award, and I do so with an open heart. And I want to say, just as these other programs that we just were talking about that are so amazingly wonderful, we are available to talk to you and to your campuses about how to start Faculty Academy, how it works, and why it works. Because not only are we benefiting as the faculty, but the bottom line is these equity gaps are decreasing rapidly. And as you said, we needed to have data to support that, and it does. Once the faculty go out and they try new practices, that equity gap just is actually shrinking. So we're really glad to be able to reach those students, because once we reach the students, they take it into the community, and it's a win-win for everyone. Thank you so much for this award and recognizing this program.
Thank you, Professor Moore, and congratulations to all of the winners. I am happy to take any questions, and I will point out, as all 3 of our award winners pointed out, part of the rubric around these programs is their scalability. Can these be adopted by other campuses? Is it possible that the work that they're doing is going to go elsewhere? And that is one of the guidelines for this award. So if you are interested, please let us know, and we will gladly put you in touch with any or all 3 of the award winners and the honorable mentions about their programs.
Thank you so much, Dolores. Are there any comments from our board members?
Yes, Sam?
Yes, Ulia.
So I just wanted to make a brief comment. This past year has been really difficult for all of us, I think, and there's more reasons to celebrate our accomplishments despite all the challenges that we have faced as a system. And to be frank, I'm so proud to see my alma mater, Sierra College Amdaki Center, being recognized for all the hard work and achievements, as the center focuses on helping the most vulnerable populations on our campus. I was fortunate to work with both the previous and current director of Amdaki Center and see how amazingly growth of the center, as well as the empowerment of the dreamers at Sierra. And according to my information, there is at least 11 Sierra College representatives on the call, and I just wanted to applaud their exceptional contributions to this outstanding program once again. Also, from the student perspective, I was excited to see Santa Barbara City College, the WELL program, on the list of the recognized colleges, as the most conversations among the students across state constantly center around the increased needs for mental health services during the pandemic. So I hope that can be magnified and implemented at more colleges across California. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Are there other comments from board members? Well, I want to, before we go to public comments, I just want to say that these are the kind of programs that really impact our students in sometimes very profound ways. It is, that's where experience, the full-blown experience and good experiences that our students have are through these kinds of programs, and they abound, but they indeed need resources to be maintained. I have not been to the UNDOC program at Sierra, but I do know that within Los Rios, each one of our colleges has an UNDOC program, and it is so needed. And during, and especially in this last 4 years, where families were very fearful, students were very fearful, didn't have answers, didn't know where to go. They knew that they could go on campus and get the resources that they needed. And if those weren't provided there were those there who were experienced on what was happening in the community that they could do a warm handoff. And so I just want to talk about that. The other has to do with mental health and the WELL program. I had the benefit of going to Santa Barbara and spent a little time at the WELL, and it is critically important. And I think that for many of our colleges, they now recognize that we have to make certain that we're seeing our students very holistically, and that there are needs that need to be addressed and can be and should be addressed. And our colleges are sort of at the front end of that in many cases. And so I want to commend all of the awardees. I want to make certain that I recognize even those unmentioned. We have 116 campuses, and on each one of those campuses, there is something going on relative to making certain that the services that our students need in order to be successful, that isn't just in the classroom, but is outside the classroom, that there are services available to them. So if there are no other comments from the board, I would take public comment at this time.
Public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
There are no hands raised for public comment at this time.
Thank you for that. I want to take a minute to ask colleagues on the board. Our next presentation is going to be at least 40 minutes. So is this a good time to take a quick break? Because the next two, I see a couple of thumbs up. So let's take a 10-minute break. I think we have time in our agenda to do so. So it is, what is it? It's 1:55. So if we can come back at 5 minutes after 2 and start up again, that would be great. Thanks so much. So I'd like to introduce this next item, 6.3. It is the Vision for Success Spotlight Equitable Placement, AB 705 Implementation Update. Presenting this item is Vice Chancellor Aisha Lowe, and she will be having with her co-presenters, Mallory Newell, Olga Rodriguez, Katie Hearn, Myra Snell, and Dolores Davidson. And obviously, Vice Chancellor Lowe, if you want to give a much more broader introduction, please feel free to do so. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, President Haynes, and good afternoon, everyone. Aisha Lowe, Vice Chancellor of Educational Services and Support. Excited to be here to bring forward this informational update. So before we jump in, as President Haynes mentioned, we will actually hear from a number of researchers today providing some data, research, and information on the update, the status update on implementation and evaluation of AB 705. And we do intend for this to be one of a regular set of updates to the Board of Governors on implementation and evaluation of AB 705. Next slide, please. So just as a bit of context and background, most of us are familiar with this effort, but to ensure that we all are, starting really with the purpose here around equitable placement. As we all hopefully know, prior to AB 705, the vast majority of our students were starting in remedial courses. And there was years of research and dialogue that help us to understand that that was not the best course of action for students and not leading to high-level outcomes for students. Attrition was high, particularly for our African-American and Latinx students. And we actually saw, basic skills or remedial courses becoming a place where students' academic progress was halted, where they often got stuck and were not moving forward to transfer level English and math courses. Next slide, please. So AB 705, and as we're calling it, equitable placement legislation and regulations, ignited a number of important changes for us. Per AB 705, we are now all across the system, maximizing the probability that students enter and complete transfer level coursework in English and math within a one-year time frame. We are now hitting up against the burden of proof that if we are placing students below that transfer level, it needs to be because they are highly unlikely to succeed in the transfer level course, and we actually have to demonstrate evidence that shows that. We are making use of high school data as the primary criteria for placement, but are allowed to utilize guided and self-placement practices where high school information is not available. Next slide. And so we are in the midst of that implementation for English and math in particular. We are still in our developmental stages for ESL. We have similar goals for our English as a second language students, where they are to complete that transfer level English composition course or an ESL equivalent within a 3-year time frame. And we'll talk a little later about next steps for ESL as we are finalizing adoption plans for ESL implementation that are due July 1st of this year. But there's also a strong focus within the equitable placement area on closing equity gaps, minimizing that disproportionate impact on students caused by traditional placement practices, and really utilizing this as a lever and a tool for equity within our system. Next slide. So here's our implementation progress to date and all that has taken place since the legislation was signed in October of 2017. Much work was done across the system to establish default placement rules for English and math. English and math adoption plans were submitted, and per law and regulation, all of our colleges began to implement English and math AB 705 by fall of 2019. We are continuing that process with ESL, with those adoption plans being due July 1st of this year and full implementation for ESL by fall of 2021. And along the way, there's been a host of opportunities for professional development, toolkits, memorandums that have gone out to the system to support equitable placement. Next slide, please. So now that we are into really that 2-year window of implementation, we want to understand what the impact has been on our system. And so the researchers that are going to present today are going to give you that update. What has implementation of AB 705 look like so far across our system, and what impact do we see that having on our system, and in particular our student outcomes, including highlights of areas of concern where we still need to continue to work to ensure that students have full access and are successful. So as you hear from these researchers, you'll hear about 3 key metrics that we wanted to level set and make sure we have understanding of. You'll hear about access, direct placement into transfer level English and math, and how have those numbers changed during the time of implementation. You'll also hear about a metric called throughput. Throughput is looking at the percentage of students who successfully complete the transfer level course within a specified time frame. So here for English and math, we're looking at that 1-year time frame from their first enrollment. And you'll also hear about success rates, the number of percent of students who successfully complete a transfer level course within 1 term. So keep those metrics in mind as we delve into our presentation. So you will hear in order first from Olga Rodriguez, who is a research fellow with the Public Policy Institute in their Higher Education Center. After that, you will hear from Mallory Newell with the RP Group, who is the project director for the Multiple Measures Assessment Project. And then you will hear from Katie Kern with backup support from Myra Snell, both co-founders of the California Acceleration Project. And then we'll close it out with our president of the Statewide Academic Senate, Dolores Davison. So I will invite Olga to join us now. Next slide, please, to begin her part of the presentation.
Great. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Lowe. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Olga Rodriguez. I'm a research fellow with PPIC's Higher Education Center. And it's a pleasure to be here today to share findings from our recent report, A New Era of Student Access at California's Community Colleges. And our report aims to shed light on how AB 705 affected student access, outcomes, and racial equity by specifically looking at the fall 2019, which was the deadline for implementing AB 705. And so in today's presentation, I'll present just a few key highlights from our study. The full report and the technical appendices, which are available on our website, ppic.org, have a lot of detailed information about the findings and the variation that exists across the colleges in the system. So next slide, please. And so to begin, we examined the data from all 114 colleges in the California Community College system to determine how access to the transfer level math and English courses changed over time. So in our study, we used first-time enrollment in math and English as our measure of access because this is a direct consequence of a college's placement methods. And so what we see in this figure is that it very clearly illustrates how just a few years ago, hundreds of thousands of students were not accessing Gateway Math and English courses across the system. So in the fall of 2019, the share of first-time math students who began in the transfer level math course nearly quadrupled compared to 2015. In English, access to college composition is now nearly universal, with 96% of first-time English students starting at that level as their first course. And this compares to just over 1/3 in 2015. And so when we examined how this policy change affected racial equity, we find that the community college system has made a tremendous amount of progress, eradicating the long-standing racial inequities in access to the transfer level courses, nearly eliminating all the gaps in English and narrowing them significantly in math. Next slide, please. And I want to highlight that this is outstanding system-wide progress in the span of just a few years. However, it's also important to mention that when we examine the proportionality index, we find that the system-wide numbers often mask some important variation across colleges. So in this context, the proportionality index indicates whether a given subgroup of students is represented equitably among those students starting in the transfer level courses relative to the representation among all first-time students in that discipline. So in other words, for there to be equity, if we have 30% of first-time math students who are African-American, we want to see 30% of first-time students starting in the transfer level math course to be African-American as well. So that's what we're searching for if we want an equitable access. So what we're seeing in this figure is that inequities in the representation of students in English are essentially gone for Latino students and only remain at 1% of colleges for African Americans. However, when we look at math, we find that 17% of colleges still show significant underrepresentation of African Americans among first-time math students who start directly in that course. And so still, I want to note that this percentage represents still a dramatic improvement from where the system was in 2015, where 79% of colleges were below equity. And so I want to mention also that with respect to Latinos in fall 2019, in math, 4% of colleges still had Latinos significantly underrepresented in transfer level math with respect to the share, but this compares to 69% in 2015. So dramatic improvements, but still more work needs to be done. So when we looked at the placement policies and course structures to see how this was related to the lingering inequities, we find that the way colleges structured placement policies and course sequences is actually contributing to higher enrollment in remedial courses and these inequities. And for example, we find that the use of higher GPA thresholds is related to increased remediation rates. We also find that colleges that require remediation versus having it be optional also have higher remedial and inequities. When we also see that when counselors are used to gather multiple measures placement data rather than automating this process is also related to higher inequities. Finally, the use of sample reading, writing, and math problems as part of a guided self-placement policy was also found to be associated with higher remediation and inequities. So these data clearly suggest that post AB 705, continuing efforts to improve equitable access to the transfer courses should focus on examining and modifying assessment and placement policies in math at the subset of colleges where significant inequities persist. And as we saw, this is a relatively manageable share, about 20 colleges across the state, and especially in math. And a second important component of this work would need to focus on moving those colleges that are near equity to the at or above equity status. So next slide, please. So now, as you all know, access is only part of the story. So given the scale of change we're seeing, it's also very important to examine course outcomes after students enroll in the course. And so for this, we examined math and English throughput rates. And as Aisha noted, this is the proportion of the first-time math and English students who successfully complete a transfer level course with a C or better. And so here we find that one-term throughput rates increased significantly in fall 2019. In English, successful completions of college composition nearly doubled between 2015 and 2019, with over 57,000 more students completing during this time frame. In math, we see that almost 3 times more students completed this important milestone, and this equates to about over 31,000 students compared to the levels in 2015. And so these successful completions provide descriptive evidence that restricting access to the transfer level courses prior to AB 705 was leading to suppressed student outcomes. Next slide, please. So notably, when we disaggregate the data by race ethnicity, we find that the rates for Latino and African American students were 3 to 4 times higher in fall 2019 compared to 2015. However, as we saw with our access measure, racial equity gaps have not gone away. In fact, the proportionality index in this case finds that successful completions across the system at over half of the colleges enrolled over 20 African American students still had significant underrepresentation for African Americans. Latinos also continue to be underrepresented in successful course completions, but to a lesser extent. So taken together, what this data is telling us that many more students are starting directly in the transfer courses and that many more students are successfully completing these courses. But one thing is very obvious and very can be pretty painful for faculty and students themselves. We're seeing more students who are struggling in this new policy landscape, and they're more visible than ever. One of the things that we like to highlight is that another important outcome of AB 705 is that faculty, staff, and administrators are now asking about this group of students. Under the old system, this group of students often did not make it into and through the transfer level math and English courses, often slipped away unnoticed, leaving the college or dropping out of these courses altogether. So at this point, so an important question becomes, what do faculty, staff, and administrators need to do to help ensure this group of students succeeds? And so we've often find a group who interrogates classroom and campus policies and practices to examine whether they're supporting or hindering student success. We also find a group who believes that this group of students actually did need some form of remediation. Next slide, please. So what our research finds is that traditional remediation is not the answer. One way colleges across the system have stepped up to support students who are who need additional support is by providing them co-requisite remedial support. And so under co-requisite remediation, students receive additional academic support while enrolling in the transfer level courses. And so here we see that co-requisite models are much more likely to, students in co-requisite models are much more likely to complete a transfer level course within 1 term than students who are given 2 terms in English and up to 3 terms in statistics and algebra-based pathways. And so I also want to point out that compared to the standard college composition course, co-requisite models have a higher share of Latino and African American students, and students in these courses are also more equitably represented among successful completions. And we find that the same is true for statistics and liberal arts math, but more work is necessary to ensure equitable representation among the BSTEM pathway or the algebra-based pathway. So what these data tell us is that future efforts need to focus on ensuring that everybody who could benefit from co-requisites is able to access them. And this can be done by increasing co-requisite offerings, identifying who could benefit from these courses through the assessment and placement process, and by designing and teaching these courses with equity in mind. And so moving forward, faculty, counselors, and researchers will need to work together to identify what is driving these persistent gaps in successful completions and find ways to address them. And so in our research and in conversations with faculty and administrators across the system, we see that the time is ripe for this work. And especially now, given the pandemic and the racial justice movement, people across the state are showing a genuine interest in examining how bias and structural inequities are affecting student outcomes. And so now I'll hand it over to my colleague Mallory, who will give you greater insight into how AB 705 is affecting student outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Next slide, please. All right, thank you. So the RP group also has a report that tracks 1-year throughput available on our website. I'm just going to highlight 2 key takeaways. The first one that Dr. Rodriguez already alluded to, so we'll drill into that a little bit further. But the first one being that successful completions of transfer level English and math have increased while non-successful completions have decreased. And the second key takeaway being that successful completion of the transfer level course within 1 year, which is the throughput, has increased for all student groups for those that we've explored thus far. So as we know, as a result of AB 705, colleges are placing a much larger proportion of students directly into transfer level courses. And there's been a greater focus on those students who are not successfully completing the transfer level course in 1 term. And this, of course, is a very valid concern. But the concern over these non-successful completions is not telling the whole story. Historically, non-successes were hidden from view under our prior system, where the vast majority of our students who started in below transfer level courses never even made it to enroll in the transfer level course. While the overall success rates in transfer level may have decreased at many colleges, and many colleges are seeing such, many more students are enrolled in the transfer level course than ever before, and more students are successfully completing the course. But if we neglect to look at the students who started in basic skills, the majority being our Black and Brown students in the system, it's not showing the full picture. So let's drill into that with the next slide. So this is showing the full pipeline for transfer level English. So these stacked bars represent transfer level English pipeline over 3 years. For students who have complete transfer level over the 3 years. The gray bars at the very top show students who did not pass the transfer level course or never even made it to the transfer level course in the first place and basically dropped out of the pipeline if they started in basic skills. As you can see, the number of non-successful grades in those gray bars have decreased as the overall enrollments, the full bars of transfer level English, have increased. So we see an overall trend increase in transfer level enrollments, but we see a reduction in the non-successful completions when you're looking at the full pipeline. Now, if we focus on the dark blue bars at the bottom, these are the students who successfully completed the transfer level course within 1 year when they were given direct access to the transfer level course. You can see that there's a steady trend of increased completions for these students that started at transfer level, with a doubling in fall 2019 over fall 2015. The lighter shades of blue above that dark blue bar are adding to this pipeline, who are those students who completed transfer level English given 1 to 3 years and they started below transfer level. You can see that this is a much smaller proportion of successful completions in the dark blue bars on the bottom, and this has also been decreasing over time, largely a result of AB 705. So taking in the whole pipeline of transfer level English, you can see that successful completions are in fact increasing and non-successful completions are decreasing. For math on the next slide, thank you. The story is very similar, but what will jump out to you here is an overall decline in math enrollment system-wide, which has been trending downward since fall 2018. But even with a decrease in math enrollment, the number of non-successful completions has continued to decrease from 61% of all outcomes in fall 15 to now 50% of all outcomes in fall 2019. This is an improvement of 11 percentage points from fall 15 to fall 19. Now, again, looking at the dark blue bars on the bottom, we see that those continue to rise with more than double the successful completions in fall 2019 over fall 2015. And then lastly, looking again at the lightest blue bars, which represent those students starting below transfer level, you see a smaller proportion of successful completions when starting below transfer level, even when giving the students up to 3 years to complete the transfer level course. Next slide. Now we're starting to focus on the second key takeaway that we have seen throughput rates increase for all groups that we've analyzed so far. So this first set of slides I'm going to show you is breaking the students out for the GPA bands that are used for the default placement rules to place students into English. So the 3 bands are those students that are below a 1.9, those students that are between a 1.9 and below a 2.9, and those students above, equal to or above a 2.6, and this was their high school performance. So the students that we have been most concerned about are those in the lowest high school performance band. In this case, those below a 1.9 GPA. We are most concerned about their direct access into transfer level. As you can see though, all GPA bands have improved their throughput weights, but those in the lowest band are almost double their rate of fall 2015, an increase of 17 percentage points. This is also the case for those in the middle GPA band with an increase of throughput of 18 percentage points. So when you look at students that are starting at any level in the fall term and you give them 1 year to complete, we see increased throughput rates for all student groups, regardless of their high school GPA coming into the community college system, and the greatest return for those in the lowest and middle bands for transfer level English. Now the next slide, please, shows the high school GPA bands for math by the default placement groups. And the story is again very similar in that all student groups are improving, and those at the most at risk below a 2.3 GPA for math have more than tripled their completion rates. While a completion rate of 20% is not ideal, which you'll see there for fall 19 for the lowest GPA band, it is far better than 6%. There's definitely more work to be done to close these gaps, but we are moving in the direction we want to see. Now the next slide focuses on other student groups who we have been exploring and looking and to ensure that they are benefiting from the new practices under AB 705. And again, this is for students starting at any level in the fall term and successfully completing the transfer level course within 1 year. The first 3 groups that you will see graphed, DSPS, EOPS, and foster youth, have experienced over a 20 percentage point increase in their completion rates between fall 15 and fall 2019. And Umoja, on the other end of the chart, is not far behind with a 17 percentage point increase in their successful completion of transfer level English. Again, there's more work to be done, particularly for our most marginalized populations, but the trend is in the direction that we want to be seeing. And then lastly, with the next slide, when we look at these same populations, but now for transfer level math, we again see a very similar and positive outcome, but even starker improvements. EOPS and foster youth have experienced almost a 30 percentage point increase in outcomes, and Puente had over a 30 percentage point improvement between fall 15 and fall 19. These shifts are striking and incredible, though again, many of our most marginalized populations continue to be at or below 50% when you're looking at those dark blue bars, which is not in any way where we should remain, but is far better than the 15%, which is where we have been for many of these groups. So that concludes my part of the presentation. Again, the full report and more details are available on the RP Group website. And now I will turn it over to my colleagues at CAP.
Thank you, Mallory. I'm very honored to be here today with you. And I'm going to be sharing some data that we gathered about the second year of AB 705 implementation across the system. This is a follow-up to a report we released last year, which was called Getting There. And this year's report is called Still Getting There. And what we did is the key question we were researching was, in the second year of AB 705, are colleges aligning their course offerings with the standard of maximizing student completion of transfer level courses? And what you've heard from Mallory in particular is that across the system, we haven't found a single group that has higher completion if they start in a below transfer course. That every group that's been examined to date has higher completion if they start directly in a transfer level, particularly if they have co-requisite support like Olga described. So that was the basis for our analysis. We looked at fall 2020 course schedules of 114 California community colleges, and we counted all the sections of introductory math and English courses that were offered. And we calculated what percentage of those were transfer level and what percentage of them were below transfer or remedial. So for example, if you had a college had 80 sections of freshman composition and 20 sections of below transfer English reading and writing, that would equal an 80% transfer level course offerings rate. And then using the research, we sort of set a framework of defining colleges by strength of implementation. So if we said strong colleges had at least 90% of their introductory offerings at the transfer level. Medium implementer colleges had between 70 and 89% of their offerings at the transfer level. And weak implementer colleges were below 70% transfer level offerings. And just the way to think about that is if it was below 70% transfer level, that means it was 30% or more remedial offerings still in the schedule. Next slide, please. So what we found when we looked across the entire system in the second year of AB 705 is a modest increase in transfer level offerings compared to fall 2019. So on this graph, you can see that the palest pink bars are the pre-AB 705 course offerings in English and math. So in fall 2017, only 48% of the sections across the system were transfer level in English and 36% in math. And then you see a really big bump in transfer level offerings in fall 2019, which is the middle bars. And that's where you see colleges ramping up for the first year of implementation and really changing their course schedules to have far fewer remedial sections and more greater proportion of transfer level. Now, when we look between year one and year two, you see only kind of a modest change, that at this point, there's just a sort of an incremental strengthening of implementation. We did see more strong implementers in English. So the number of colleges with at least 90% transfer level went from 54 to 77 colleges. In math, it increased from 9 to 17, which is better, but is still, that's not a lot of strong implementers in math. And we saw fewer weak implementers across the system. English went from 10 to 1 college. I'm not going to name them. And then math decreased from 41 to 33 colleges. So that 33 that's still a pretty substantial portion of our system where 30% or more of what is being offered at the introductory math level remains remedial. Only 3 colleges in the system offer 100% transfer level math and English, and those are colleges Sequoias, Pasadena, and Porterville. Next slide. The major issue we're seeing across the state is very uneven implementation across the system. And you can see obviously very uneven implementation between English and math, But also across colleges, you're seeing that where students live has a huge impact on their access to transfer level courses. So if, 77 colleges are strong implementers in English and 17 in math, and that we looked at sort of those 17 are spread all around the state, but if you sort of pick like a remote rural college, it might be 150 miles to the nearest strong implementer college. And then you can see, sort of in the blue box, 69 colleges are still offering more remedial math sections than, 69 colleges are still offering more than 20% remedial math sections. And this is in violation of the research, which shows that what maximizes students' completion again and again is direct enrollment and transfer level with co-requisite support for those who need it. We also, a sort of a disturbing finding was when we looked college by college, I sort of had this like sense of like, oh, we're gonna just make progress. It's gonna be one steady uphill rise from here with AB 705. And we found that implementation worsened at some colleges between fall 2019 and fall 2020. 28 colleges increased their share of remedial sections in math this fall, and 19 colleges did in English. And then also very disturbing finding is that 75 colleges still offer more sections of remedial math than transfer level with co-requisite support. So our colleges have not really made the shift from the old paradigm of remedial prerequisite courses to the much more effective and equitable paradigm of enrolling them in transfer level and providing support alongside. Next slide, please. Another major finding in terms of room for improvement in implementation is a real pattern of racial inequity in implementation across the system. So we found, and PPIC and the MMAP researchers also found that actually Black and Latinx students disproportionately attend colleges with large remedial math offerings post AB 705. We looked at colleges that had a large proportion of the state's Black students in particular, which was more than 2,000 Black students, and among that group of 22 colleges, they were more than twice as likely to be a weak implementer of AB 705 with really large remedial offerings still in place compared to colleges that did not have a large share of Black students. This inequitable offerings then drives inequitable transfer level enrollment, where Black and Latinx students are being enrolled in remedial math at higher rates across our system than Asian and white students after AB 705. And then finally, this drives inequitable transfer level completion, where Black and Latinx students have lower one-term completion of transfer level math than Asian and white students. So it's a direct line between what colleges are offering to where students enroll to students disproportionately inequitable completion rates. And the thing that I find this upsetting, but the thing that I find hardening about it is that of all the many drivers of racial inequity that we don't have control over, what we do have control over is what we offer students. So the classes we offer and the support we provide is fully within our control. So at least this driver of racial inequity, we are absolutely certain we can do something about it. Next slide. So based on this research, our report lays out a set of recommendations, and I've just pulled out a few highlights here for this group. The first is that we believe that California community colleges should set a deadline of fall 2022 to completely replace remedial courses with co-requisite models system-wide. We believe that the Chancellor's Office should provide updated guidance to colleges regarding the evidence-based practices that have been shown to maximize student completion and direct colleges to stop enrolling students in below transfer level courses unless they meet the AB 705 evidentiary bar. And that the board should support the Chancellor's Office to pursue enforcement actions with weaker implementer colleges. We also recommend that the legislature consider revising AB 705 to tighten the loophole under which colleges can continue enrolling students in English and math classes that don't meet the legal standard of maximizing their completion. And that the state should consider severely restricting or eliminating use of public dollars to offer below transfer English and math starting in fall 2022. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over back to Dr. Lowe.
Thank you very much. As we prepare to transition to Dolores, I want to thank all of our presenters for the information that they've shared in terms of what the research is showing us so far. And as we bring that piece to a close, I think we definitely see that equitable placement is a strategy for our vision for success. We are not there yet. We still have a number of gaps that we need to close, deeper research that we need to do, in areas where we need to further push. But I do think there's clear evidence that this is a positive change for our system. It is a vision for success strategy. And now we need to do the hard work of figuring out how to continue to implement it well. I want to now invite our president of the Statewide Academic Senate, Dolores Davison, to also speak to us about the work the Academic Senate is doing around AB 705 implementation and some of their reflections about the path before us and the next steps we need to take. Dolores?
Thank you, Vice Chair. And again, good afternoon, Board President Haynes, Vice President Costa, members of the Board of Governors. I'm still Dolores Davison, President of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. We were asked to talk a little bit about the efforts that we are overseeing in conjunction with the Chancellor's Office around AB 705 implementation and equitable placement and assessment. So if I could have the next slide. So first of all, and I cannot emphasize this enough, faculty statewide have been doing an extremely heavy lift on AB 705. When you consider that this legislation was passed in the fall of 2017, signed into law in fall of 2017, we've made some pretty significant efforts. And that's not just the thousands of disciplined faculty in math and English and ESL and reading, but it's also our counseling faculty and our faculty that are working in transfer centers and in other locations that have all needed to bring themselves up to an understanding of what this is going to involve and what they need to do. I also would be remiss if I did not recognize the many classified professionals that have also been engaged in these conversations, both in terms of advising and in terms of the work that they do at transfer centers and at other institutions or other locations within our institutions around doing this. Part of the Guided Pathways effort that we have been heavily engaged in is about creating these pathways for students to be able to have access, for them to be able to be placed correctly, and for them to be able to complete ideally within the recommended time frame. But I think it's also really important that we look at this in a holistic way because there are so many different variables that affect our different students and our different campuses. And I appreciated Dr. Rodriguez's point in her presentation that we do have to look at those variables. This is not a one size fits all. I know that we see legislation many times come down that really does think that we are 116 identical institutions or 115 identical degree granting institutions and Calbright. But the reality is we're not, and we all have different things that we are contending with and challenges that we're facing, but also things that benefit us and positives that we can rely on as well. And so very much tying back to the Vision for Success, which Dr. Lowe already did. And thank you again for the PPIC report from 2019, which sparked a lot of interest among our Guided Pathways group and led our Guided Pathways Task Force, co-chaired by ASCCC Vice President Ginny May and former Executive Committee member Janet Folks, to create our own report, which actually came out in the fall of 2020. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. On placement in English and math pathways. And so I ask you to take a look at this if you have an opportunity. It's only about 60 pages. Only, I say, so like only 60 pages. But the task force did take a look at how to optimize student success around the placement strategies. And we did look only at English and math. ESL is its own separate entity, and we'll be working on that going forward. We are very grateful that Vice Chancellor Lowe recognized that having a co-chair for the ESL task force would be a good plan. And so we have a former ASCCC member co-chairing that committee as well, to look at what we're going to do with the SL by fall of 2021. Can I have the next slide, please? So lots of questions arose out of this report and out of the discussions that we've been having. How should, if there are decreasing success rates, as was pointed out in certain areas, how are they being addressed? How do colleges balance throughput with success rates, retention, and persistence? What do we do with all of that on individual colleges? Are there specific factors that are influencing success in strategies like Puente that can be optimized for success and to reduce those equity gaps? Are there opportunities that exist, we know there are, to innovate and to serve students with tailored guidance and to support optimized success from an individual student perspective, again, focused on the student? And are we serving both full-time and part-time students? This has been a frequent question. We know that our full-time students, that is something we have emphasized to try to have more students go full-time. We also know that we've seen a decline in that with the pandemic and students who have not only been forced to go from full-time to part-time because of circumstances, or have been forced to not return at all because they can't afford to take time off or to take classes, or they don't have the accessibility to be able to do that. And so looking at both our full-time and our part-time students will be something that I know the task force is going to take a look at going forward. And so next slide, please. And so moving forward this fall, the Academic Senate plenary attendees passed a resolution on papers and resources for evaluating placement in English as a second language, and a math placement or pathway, excuse me. So asking that local academic senates work with research professionals to create evaluation plans, and then working with our system partners to evaluate placement and to create resources. And we will continue to work with the Chancellor's Office going forward with that, and we look forward to the opportunity. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dolores. Next slide, please. So as we bring this to a close, we just wanted to highlight what some of our priorities are for equitable placement in 2021 and beyond. So we are squarely focused on effective and efficacious implementation of AB 705 across our system, right? So digging deeper into those areas where we need to improve and expand implementation. Also very focused on evidence-based validation of implementation practices. We recently released a template to the entire system in December of 2020, where colleges are completing this template to submit the data that will help us to understand what the outcomes have been of their placement practices in English and math. And as we was mentioned earlier in the recommendations for CAP, we do have as an office and as an agency some regulatory oversight of this process, and we will be looking at colleges' data to understand if and when students are being placed below transfer level, does their own local data evidence that is what is best for students, that it's increasing the student's likelihood of completion, or that there is clear evidence of that standard of unlikely to succeed. And so we're digging into those efforts. Those were actually due to our office January 15th. So we are reviewing those now and reaching out to any colleges where we have not yet received that data. Another key priority for us is supporting our English as a second language programs and faculty around their adoption plans and implementation. Given COVID-19 and the ways in which that created much upheaval across the system for all of our colleges, that deadline was extended from July 1st of 2020 to July 1st of 2021. A special thank you to the ESL implementation work group. They have designed a template for the submission of those adoption plans, as well as a guide. And I will be getting those out to the field ASAP this week, so we can support that process for ESL adoption, and then ultimately establishing a regular cycle of evaluation and improvement for equitable placement. Last slide. So I will leave you all with this. I will not go over this in detail. I want us to shift now to questions and comments from the board as well as the public. But this just gives you an overview of our priorities as an office, the areas where we are moving forward in implementation and evaluation, as well as research in English and math, in ESL and then overall. In addition to the validation of practices, data submissions that are taking place right now for English and math, we are also working on a similar template for AB 1805 data reporting and data displays. And so there will be more details to come on that effort as well. But I want to stop there and shift to questions and dialogue. Thank you.
I have a question, Vice Chancellor Lowe.
Yes.
It's, based upon this briefing, it seems as if the Black students are not as successful as the Latino students. So I want to know why that is, and then what are we doing to close that gap?
No, that is a very excellent observation, Member Shaw, and something that our researchers have dug deep into. So I actually invite our researchers for some comment here before I jump in terms of your observations from the research you've conducted about why do we continue to see such strong persistent gaps for our African American students. Thoughts about that from any of our researchers?
Thank you for that question. I'll go ahead and go first, but I just want to make sure that that when we see these gaps, that we're taking the responsibility for these outcomes and that they're not on the responsibility is not on the students, but on us as institutions. What we have seen when we did interviews across 80 individuals across 14 different colleges is that dialogue is starting to shift, where we're now believing in the student capacity of students, that we're now shifting that dialogue of our students ready for college to our colleges ready for these students. And I think that is a really important distinction, and that we continue to make that it's not the result of a student, but the result of that college being ready for these students. And like Dolores said, these are huge shifts in at a quick time, but also taking the responsibility for ensuring that our Black and African American students are achieving, but also just basically calling out systemic racism on our campuses, but through the whole K-12 pipeline for these students in their communities, in their education systems, but then what we have control over within our classrooms and on our campuses. So I think that's a much larger discussion and dialogue that needs to be taking place at the individual faculty level, the department level, the campus level, across the board.
I just echo all the comments Mallory just said. I think it goes to that visual that Katie had. So in our research, we found kind of that there's this very strong relationship between the changes in access to these courses and the changes in successful completion. And what we see throughout our report is that African American students continue to be disproportionately represented in the courses and then in the successful completions. And I know there's a lot of, like, we've started to hear a lot of colleges place dedicated efforts on addressing any remaining biases that may be remaining in the placement process, in the course syllabus, and all these others. So these discussions are now present, and I think in large part to AB 705 and really shedding light on these inequities. So Katie, Myra, others comments on this?
Yeah, I'd like to, I agree with everything that both of the presenters just said. And I would just sort of step back and say, I think that there are like two big factors we need to think about. One is structural racism, and our previous placement policies were maybe like most straightforward example of structural racism that I've observed. Because we would just disproportionate, like Black students might be 3 times as likely to be denied access to transfer level math as white students. And that is still continuing. It's mitigated by AB 705, but when colleges are maintaining large remedial offerings, then colleges are disproportionately enrolling Black students in those courses. So this is where the uneven implementation of the structural reforms is continuing to drive racial inequity.
And they're doing that more so than Latino students? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah, and then I think that the part 2 of that would be, what role is implicit bias playing in both placement policies, in which Ms. Shaw, that I think your question goes to that, or there's sort of implicit bias a role in when counselors get involved in directing students into courses, which students do they think look college ready? Which students do they not? And I think a lot of it happens at an unconscious level, but nonetheless, it's something that we need to really be careful about. And then I think also in the classroom, that even if you give access to the transfer level, is implicit bias playing a role in students' experience in the classroom, and then, or also just that I think that a lot of colleges are not scaling up co-requisite models enough is another factor, because we're finding PPIC found more equitable completion when colleges offered co-requisite support than when they just enrolled them in a regular transfer level course without support. So there's it's about our practices. I want to go back to Mallory's point that this is not about these students aren't prepared or these students aren't doing well. This is about our systems and what changes we need to make to ensure racial equity in our outcomes.
Thank you for that, Katie. We have a question from Member Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, so, the point I was gonna kind of make is actually something that Katie just said, which is that many institutions are not scaling up co-requisites enough. And from the student perspective, this is kind of the primary focus. I myself came into San Joaquin Delta College the last semester that used placement exams. And I thought I was math, but I placed in Math 92S, and then I probably failed Math 92S. And then I had to make a decision about whether or not to, I was going to perpetually and indefinitely be chained into the California community colleges, or whether I would go out on a limb and just try to take another math class that was college level. At that time, there were no co-requisites. So I instead of retaking Math 92S like I was recommended to me by a counselor, I said, screw that. And I took a college level entry math class, and then I passed. And my purpose in illustrating that is so many of our students get trapped by remedial courses across the state because they don't have the resources necessary or the foundational knowledge necessary to do what I did and just say, screw it, I'm just going to go for it. Or let alone the confidence, because largely they've been failed by the system before. And so when I think about the problems with remedial courses, I really think about the commitment and the vision for success that says we're going to pair high expectations with high support. And to a large extent, I don't think that there's a very system-wide understanding of what that high support is. And again, that goes back to your point of not scaling co-requisites up enough. There are too many districts, I think, right now that have just thrown students into college level math and English and have scattered support everywhere, expect students to find that support. So I guess my question would be to the presenters: how can the Board of Governors make sure that there's a fluid understanding of high support, and that students who may be intimidated by college level math and English can rely on that support at every institution?
Anyone of the presenters want to take that on?
I'll take it on.
Yay, okay.
Go ahead, Chancellor.
I think to Board Member Fitzgerald's point, I think presentations like we're having today raise these issues and make it very clear what's happening to the Board of Governors. I think we need to continue to do this. We need to continue to highlight those campuses and the faculty that are doing excellent work, which we have in the past. But I also think we need to spend a little bit more time looking at where it's not going well and trying to understand and ask the question why. I think we're getting to that point now where we need to start asking the question why. And I was hopeful that this presentation would lay a foundation for that going forward. And then, of course, working Dr. Lowe and Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado, working with our colleagues in the statewide academic senate. I think together we need to be asking the question why, and what additional types of support do our campuses need to get there? I think that's the next step for us as the Chancellor's Office to think about how do we go a little bit deeper now as we go forward.
Thank you,
I'd like
Chancellor.
Sorry. I'd like to add one thing to that. Thank you so much, Chancellor Oakley. I would just say like a lack of equivocation would be helpful. You know, the sort of, we often in the community college system, we like to believe that like every college is different and every population is, you know, and that, well, you can't, don't tell us what to do because our college is different. But actually there's no college that has been able to produce evidence that their students are better served by beginning in a remedial course. The evidence is unequivocal about that. And therefore, the more that the Chancellor's Office and the board can provide unequivocal guidance in the places where things are really clear, I think you could make a big difference in terms of the uptake and sort of clear the sort of the haze of smokescreen around, well, we don't really know what some students really need remedial, or, you know, and just like force a clarity about the evidence and what it tells us to do.
We have 3 hands up. So I'm Jolena, and then we're going to have Joseph, Joe, then we're going to have Felicia, and then Bill, you're going to take up the last position. So Jolena.
Thank you very much. The data is absolutely compelling, and this presentation has absolutely opened my eyes, and I'm sure for many of my colleagues it will as well, especially as we get this information out to the field. When it comes to transfer level math, though, I'm very concerned with disaggregating the populations based on the algebra sequence versus a statistics sequence to see which one may have better served which population, if there is any difference, and if we've only confounded the problem by allowing there to be an algebraic sequence and a statistics sequence. And that's that unequivocal stance once again. Are we going to force all students into an algebra sequence, or are we going to give them options? So I would love to know if there's any plan, or if we currently have data that separates out the populations based on the path that they were embarking on for transfer level math.
No, that's a great question, Member Grande. And I think to Chancellor Oakley's point, right, that's part of our work moving forward. So you saw some initial data displays today, but part of the work moving forward is really understanding, in particular in math, because of the important connection to the STEM fields, where we are always told many of the jobs of the future will be, that we have to open up and clarify that pathway for students into STEM through math courses. And so you see that distinction between the algebraic path and the more, behavioral sciences, statistics courses, because we know students are moving in different directions, and we know it's more essential for students going into the STEM fields to take that algebraic path. And so really disaggregating that data by what is students' path and how that's connected to which version of math they're taking is certainly on our list for continued research moving forward.
Thank you. So the next person is Felicia.
Great, thank you so much. Hopefully you can hear me. I really appreciate the presentation. It was really comprehensive, and to get kind of different perspectives from faculty, researchers was really helpful. It was also good to see the 2020 data, because I mean, it just, I was also really curious and wondering how COVID-19 is, it's impacting everything for so many of our campuses, and to see that there was still some progress, although it was modest, between fall 2019 and fall 2020 was good, but hopefully there will be more progress. And I'm curious if you got any particular feedback about how COVID-19 has impacted the work of making progress for students and the course offerings, and if there are things that we should be learning just in this era of COVID-19 in terms of how students are learning that should get factored in. I don't know if any of that came up at all. I think it's also, I think paying more attention to the math piece of this is obviously more problematic. And so Eloy and Chancellor and his team, as they're thinking about directing resources, I'm sure you all are thinking about, really, focusing as much attention as you can on the math piece of this, because that really does seem to be where folks are still, where the colleges are still struggling. So I just, those are just some general remarks. And I don't know, like I said, if there was any thoughts about COVID, in terms of student support services, or also just, the inertia of getting things done on campus when there was, just basically incredible emergencies throughout the community over the last 8 months.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'll say this quickly, and certainly I know we're coming up on time, but if any of our researchers had something more specific around COVID, time will tell, right? What we have heard and seen is a concern that COVID's having an impact that we don't yet have evidence for, right? So we are very concerned to see colleges responding to COVID based on ideas about the ways that the kind of online education a student might have received in high school might be impacting students' readiness, and then colleges feeling this pressure to change their practices when we do not yet have any evidence that that is true. Some preliminary evidence that we looked at within our system, within our research and data shop, show that COVID, in particular in spring 2020, did not have the impact on student outcomes that we might all assume that it would have had. And so I would say we really want to caution the system for us to wait and see what the impact is going to be. Let's look at that from a data-driven perspective and really look at research. But we really want to be careful of the assumption that students are going to be less prepared coming out of high school because of the experience that they had in spring 2020. We also want to remember that while certainly spring 2020 likely had impacts on students' experience, right? We're talking about one semester out of their entire high school career. We do not want to sort of move forward with an assumption that one semester could have somehow obliterated all of their previous learning. But it's certainly something we're continuing to research and look closely at. I think there was one more question.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I'm
President.
muted.
You're on mute.
My apologies. Before we go to Member Williams and Member Rawlings' question, I want to add some additional individuals who want to speak. That's Member Hall, Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, and our Vice President. We have two other items, but this is a very important conversation to be having right now. So I want to make certain that we get the questions and the issues out in the open so that it provides some direction to the on direction where we should be going and where we should be headed. So with that, Member Williams.
First, thank you for the information, and I'll try to keep it brief. Just was thinking about and how you disaggregate the data by ethnicity. There was some initial concerns with AB 705 on unintended consequences for students that might not have some of the foundational skills that they need to be successful in college level courses, and just wanted to see, if you are seeing any trends across the various ethnic groups, and then is there any value, or is there anybody collecting like student testimonies, like what's the student voice in this, and like what's their input about how said AB 705 has been impacting them, and what's good about it, what could be improved. And so, I just want to get your thoughts about that. And can we see the disaggregated data for the state at some point in time by ethnicity?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Member Williams. Yes, please know, you can see some of those data displays in the reports that went out. Please know this was a very high level overview. There is so much data in these 3 reports, and we simply didn't have time to bring everything forward. But what we're seeing across the board is that all boats are rising and equity gaps persist, right? So we're seeing increases in access, we're seeing increases in success for all student groups across racial groups. but then we see that the equity gaps continue to persist, even though all groups are increasing. And so that will always be core to all of our analyses, not just for ourselves, but all of our research partners, always looking at those disaggregations by ethnic subgroups so that we can understand how this is impacting opportunity, and equity gaps is really essential in the work that's moving forward.
Thank you for that. Member Rawlings.
All right. Thank you, President Haynes. So to keep it brief, I'll just second all the questions and discussion I've heard so far. It's been great. I would also say this has been very validating as someone who came in just as this was taking effect, knowing how hard it was on a policy and administrative point of view to implement and to get this lift going. It's great to see that we're having the kind of impact that we expected we might see, although acknowledging some of those gaps. So the only thing I would add to this discussion is I'm interested in knowing, and it's not necessarily part of this report, but where we have best practices as far as embedded tutoring, maybe in the co-requisite courses, is there a difference between the different models that are working better versus not better, right? Is it the additional office hours that might be helping students? Is it embedded tutoring that's helping, non-embedded tutoring helping? What are students taking advantage of that might be additive to the co-requisite models that we've been seeing? So that's something I'm interested in seeing in the future.
No, definitely. Thank you for that, Member Rawlings. That is high on our list, right? We know from the PPIC report that concurrent support is now established as an evidence-based best practice. Part of what we would like to see moving forward in the research is, well, among the different models of concurrent support, are there any that seem to be particularly more effective?
Thank you. Member Hall.
Thank you. So Member Rawlings just asked a question that I was going to ask, but looking at this objectively, I mean, it's a little frightening how bad the figures were in 2015. I mean, those are just abysmal. It's a little embarrassing, actually, that we had a system that has gone on for decades with those types of numbers. And it's so abysmal that even with the great improvement that's been made with AB 705, we're still not doing well. I mean, the math numbers at 20% or 40% is still a failing grade. So it shows how much work needs to be done. And it shows it's not just a community college problem. It's, as you've alluded to, does it start in the grammar schools? Does it start in the high schools? I mean, how do we get to the point where so few people can pass the math requirements? So that's a big question we all have to address. But if there is one thing that I'm getting from this is that the co-requisite support is critical. And that gets back to Member Rawlings' question. What is it exactly? I don't even know what it is. Is it just tutoring? And are there different types of co-requisite support? And is that something we need to stress to the governor and the legislature that, we can show you that with co-requisite support, we can make these types of improvements. Absent that support, we're not going to make the improvements. But I guess it ultimately comes down to a question of how it gets financed. I have to believe that would cost some extra money to do full-scale co-requisite support, but that's my question.
I'd like to speak to that if I could briefly. Most of the models in the California Acceleration Project, one of the main things that we have done is support the systems colleges to implement these models and design the curriculum and learn how to teach inside them. And the kind of the dominant model is that you just take whatever the standard class is, let's say a 3-unit freshman composition class, and then you create a 5-unit version of it so that the students have more time and more support from their instructor. And pre-COVID, they would have more time in class to collaborate with each other and build community. And, or in math, statistics with an extra 1 or 2 units attached with the same instructor, so that there's time to build in review of whatever the foundational math concepts that students need to do the higher level work. You're not trying to pack in all of K-12 math into those 2 units. You're just trying to give, focused review. That's the main model we're talking about, co-requisite. There's different ways to create it, but it really is building out time in class and additional support, typically taught by the same instructor, to provide sort of just-in-time remediation on the higher level challenges.
Can I add to that, if I may? One area that has really come to fruition as a result of AB 705 is also from the research community, which I am a researcher at De Anza College, is the perspective that we're making faculty success rates publicly available to them, which hasn't really been something that's been done in the past. So not only do we have student success rates, right? We also have a faculty success rate. We can consider that the faculty success rate of that course, taking ownership of the students in that course, right? Being also a faculty member as well. So what the research community has been doing is making dashboards, making reports available that show the trends in success rates of the same course over the same term of a course, and by the individual instructor, but of course de-identified, and we call it the section level instead of the instructor level. And you'll be surprised at the variation in the same course. And so if any of you are out of campus, I urge you to ask your researcher to make that data available to you, just to take a look at it. What does it look like in your own campus of the variation of success of English 1A? Do you have some sections that have 30% success and some that have 90, and what's this range in between? And so that conversation is just beginning, and I think we really need to drill into that conversation to really be closing these equity gaps and to be moving the needle and continuing in that direction.
I will just add that going back to the initial assessment and placement process, I think that's where another place where colleges have a lot of leverage. So going back to the point that, you know, the numbers are still relatively low, like across the state, only throughput rates for math within one term are 40%. But at the two colleges that completely eliminated remediation, we see a throughput rate of 57%. And sticking with the default placement rules is actually also, that set of colleges also sees higher throughput rates. As you can imagine, those that set stricter rules, like by setting higher cutoffs or requiring remediation, have much lower throughput rates. So yeah, just kind of taking a close look at what are our placement policies? How strict are they? Are we requiring remediation versus having it be optional? Yeah, those are probably could be difficult conversations, but could be conversations that could be had now, and you know, start making changes, you know, starting the next semester.
Okay, Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So I had the opportunity to be briefed up a little bit on AB 705 last week. And honestly, I was just astonished. I don't know that there are many pieces of legislature that go through Sacramento that have ever had as much of an impact in our state as AB 705. And because by and large, our institutions of public higher education are proudly independent of political oversight, the fact, and as a rule of thumb, I think we know that the reasons why. My guess is that those proponents of AB 705 were probably beaten up pretty badly in the process of trying to get this done. Katie Hearn, I see you smiling. So I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone who found and realized that there was a fundamental structural flaw in our system of community colleges, figured out what it would take to fix it, wrote it up, organized it, worked with legislators, and got the students and faculty and others who understood that this change needed to take place. Because clearly what we've seen in just those very simple slides that Katie showed us here at the beginning are this has been enormously beneficial to our students. And in particular, that it has been enormously beneficial to students of color. which, Madam President, as you noted at the beginning of this, our first meeting of the new year, is so central to the work that this board does. So I just wanted to say that. And then when I hear Katie say that there are holdouts, that there are still colleges who are not, in the face of overwhelming evidence that this is beneficial for our students beyond dispute, that there are still holdouts and there are still some schools that are sticking with their old ways and putting kids into remedial courses who could, with appropriate support, go into courses where they are earning transferable credits. So I guess I would just ask Eloy, put him, our person who knows more about this than anybody. Eloy, what is it going to take? What do we need to do? Do we need to organize again and go back to the legislature? Do we need to bring those community college, the leadership, whether they're the boards or the staff, and push them a little bit harder here? What do we need to do? Because if there is one kid, one aspiring kid in this state who has a dream of college, who gets put into a remedial course when they don't need to be there, that's too many. Anyway, that's my view. So Eloy, I'd love to hear from you. Where do we go now? How do we implement this all the way through?
Madam Chair, before we unleash our chancellor, because I know he's egging to be unleashed, he is asked to be the last speaker. I'm going to let him bring us all home. We have 2 more questions so that we can round out the questions of the board, and then we're going to unleash to do that. So can I get Vice President Costa? She has a question, as well as Jennifer Perry. Question out. All right, thank you.
Really quick, for Dr. Lowe or the researchers, you showed us a cut of the data by ethnicity as well as high school GPA. Are there other cuts such as gender or household income that you looked at? And is there anything worth noting?
Yes, we did include gender, economically disadvantaged, all of the data that is collected by MIS. We've cut it all, and we have seen AB 705 working for all groups.
And Board Member Perry, you had a question.
Yeah, 2 quick notes. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, because I was going to say to Ms. Hearn, we heard loud and clear your call to be unequivocal. And I hope the Chancellor will lead us in carrying the unequivocal flag about this, because you're right, to have this data and not apply it universally across is failing our students. But the thing I wanted to highlight is that the youth aging out of foster care or former foster youth have the dubious distinction of having the lowest percentage rate that was cited in the report. So I think that bears highlighting, A, and B, since we do have resource groups at the campuses specifically focused on foster youth, I want, if we could start thinking about ways we might employ them in terms of improving those outcomes. I know it's difficult because a lot of them are structural deficiencies that have come across, many, many years of scattershot education and moving around and all the other things that affect this statistic. But we do have the existing groups. And if we can also work with some of the outside groups like Burton, to bring outside resources to bear to try and improve outcomes for these youth in foster care. I would love to see that happen. So thank you for all this work.
Thank you. And this is the first time I have not needed to speak on AB 705 because my colleagues on the board have spoken eloquently, and so I am very appreciative. Thank you so much for your comments, and I'm going to close this out by allowing our Chancellor to have the last word.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to the board members for your questions. And of course, thank you to the panelists who are partners of ours in this work and will continue to be critical partners. First of all, let me say that on behalf of the Chancellor's Office team, we feel very strongly about this, about AB 705. We have always felt that it is a cornerstone of the Vision for Success. It is a cornerstone of our push to improve outcomes for all students, in particular students that have been left behind for decades. I will say that this is not just a problem for the California community colleges. This is a problem throughout the country. I'm proud to say that we are leading the way in how to change the trajectory of community college students in communities all throughout the country. And I have said before, and I will say again, that how we got here is a terrible tragedy. We relied on large standardized testing companies like the College Board, like ACT, to provide us with their solutions, and their solutions got us to this point. And just like the SAT and the ACT, there are still people who believe that those tests or those methods were the solutions. And we have to continue to root that out of our system. For those of you who have attended with me some of the Chancellor's Office tours, some of the stops that we made, you saw some of the discontent in the discipline faculty over what we were doing with AB 705. That was typically the bone of contention whenever I showed up to talk to our faculty. So there is a lot of tension in the system over this. I will say that we've come a long way in a few years, but clearly this presentation was geared to help us see how much further we have to go. I do want to say, though, that we have several colleges that have done amazing work at implementing AB 705, and we need to continue to shine the light on them and help colleges see them as the model for where we need to go. We have done more on this issue than I think any state in the country, and we have a long ways to go. Ultimately, this is part of our effort to root out structural racism in our system. Because I don't know any other way to describe how we got here other than it was a structural barrier that was created over time. We were led to believe that this was the way to do it. And in doing so, we locked the doors to millions of students of color. To give you an idea, I began down this road in 2011 at Long Beach City College with my then director of research, Dr. John Hetz, who's with us again now. So it shows you how difficult it is to root this out. But we are at a place now where we have no choice. We've called it what it is. We've identified the research mechanisms and the partners to help us identify what's working and what's not working. And so I've heard loud and clear from the Board of Governors that the next step is to begin to ensure that this is being implemented with the fidelity that it deserves. So that's where we will go next. I can guarantee you that it is going to cause some discontent in the system, but that is what it's going to have to take. I do want to recognize that tens of thousands of math and English faculty, as well as other faculty who have supported these efforts, have done tremendous work. Many of them are organized through CAP, and we will continue to work with them. And we will work with Dolores Davidson and her team at the ASCCC to make sure that the faculty have the freedom to implement this in the ways that are unique to their situations, but at the same time, acknowledge that there's nothing unique about structural racism and that we just need to get this done on behalf of our students. So I'll end there before I say something that will show up in print somewhere.
Thank you, Chancellor. It's now time to take public comment. Is there public comment?
The public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
We do have several public comments. The label for the first user is ETW Government Relations. You have control of your mic and you can address the board.
Good afternoon, President Hayes, Chancellor Oakley, and Board of Governors members. My name is Manuel Rodriguez here on behalf of the Education Trust West. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Governors, Vice Chancellor Lowe for this informative presentation on AB 705 and the panelists for the reports they produced. ETW believes in the goal of AB 705 to redesign course placement methods and maximize the probability that students enter and complete transfer level coursework in English and math within 1 year. It is equitable, it is research-based, and it's student-centered. Yes, some improvements have arisen as discussed today, and we should applaud those. But the work shouldn't stop here. We must look forward and look to the work that remains in order to achieve the racial equity promise of AB 705. According to some of the research covered today, just 17 colleges are strong implementers in math. Among colleges serving the largest share of the state's Black population, 59% of those were weak implementers in math. And between 2019 and 2020, 19 colleges increased remedial English courses that are being offered. This small data glimpse should be a call to action for all California Community College stakeholders. If colleges are going to make consequential progress in closing racial equity gaps in transfer level courses, it is important to pay close attention to the experiences of Black, Latinx, low income, and other marginalized students. This includes the courses which they are offered, the courses in which they enroll, implicit bias in placement practices, the support they're provided in these courses, and the learning taking place in these courses. We look forward to see how the Board of Governors and Chancellor's Office will approach this work moving forward to assure that AB 705's implementation achieves the racial equity and the student-centered goals it was set out to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have students making a change. You have control of your mic. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marjorie Bland. I'm a senior fellow at Student Making a Change and currently the interim program coordinator at Student Making a Change. I'm going to thank the board today for supporting AB 705. I've been advocating for AB 705 since 2018 in the student perspective and in the voices. And I must say that I am very happy with the changes that have been made in this last 2 years. I do agree with Manny Rodriguez, more progress needs to be made since this system been failing our students for a long time, especially Black and brown students. And it is a systemic racism. It's the biggest gatekeeper for low income student, homeless student, foster student, and we need to dismantle that system and ensure that we have equity across the board for all of our students. AB 705, I've been directly impacted by AB 705. Thanks to AB 705, I received many admissions to a four-year institution, and I went into a regular math transfer. Some of you know that, some of you don't. The new board members don't know that. And SMAC has dedicated their entire 2 years to advocating and talking to students, faculty, administrations, and counselor. We will continue to do that. We will continue to hold institutions accountable and work with partners like CAP and Public Advocate to ensure that students know their rights. But I do want to recommend that this fight is multi-layered, meaning that the chancellor office has to do their part, the faculties have to do their part, and the students need to know their right. It is not right that I go to one college and I get one success rate, and I go to a different college and I get held back. Yes, implicit bias is part of that. Yes, a lot of structural counselors, all that is part of that. But we need to learn and go deep into these systemic racism, break it down and understand why our students are still being left behind. While I understand that it's gonna take a while for us to understand that, I do agree with Katie Hearn. I do agree that we have to give the colleges a set date where they have to get rid of remedial classes and understand how they can better serve their communities at their campuses. I do understand the different campuses have different demographic, but I also want the chancellor's office to please make something across the board. It is not okay that students are confused. It is not okay that their confidence is low because they don't understand the differences among different systems and in all 115 community colleges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tammy Marshall. You have control of your mic. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I am Tammy Marshall, and I am the chair and faculty member in the math department at Cuyamaca College. And I just wanted to publicly comment on the work that has been involved in AB 705. I have presented at this board many times with regards to AB 705 and have helped the California Acceleration Project and many other organizations with the implementation of placement redesign and co-requisite support. At Cuyamaca College, since we implemented co-requisite support and placement redesign in the fall of 2016, we have already seen a doubling in the number of transfer level students. Let me say that again. We have seen a doubling of first-time students completing a transfer level math class in 1 year, which is exactly what we're supposed to be seeing with respect to AB 705. We have opened access for all of our students to now have access to a transfer level math class. And we have seen through our student stories that we have highlighted that other California acceleration projects in other areas, PPIC and others have also highlighted many of our student stories and their success. I taught quantitative reasoning with support this past semester in the fall. While it was remote and virtual, it still was powerful for many of my students. I had many students reach out to me and say that this was the first time that they ever took a math class that they felt that they could do. It was different, but very, very difficult and rigorous, and that they felt that they actually had the skills and the ability to complete math, which I think is one of the things that holds so many of our students back. One of the other things that I just want to point out is the importance of really trying to work with those schools that are still not completely working with respect to what they should be doing and AB 705 and offering all of those remedial classes. It is a travesty in many ways, and I think that hearing from students like SMAC and others is really what the most important part is. So as hard as it is, and as much as we know remedial math was done at the beginning based on really faculty trying to help students succeed from a place of love, it hasn't worked. It's instead hurt student success, and we need to learn from these failures and the success data of AB 705 to continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Trillia Hargrove. You have control of your microphone. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Trillia Hargrove, and I just want to thank hello members of the Board of Governors and also the ever essential members of the public. My name is Trillia Hargrove. I'm an equity advocate for students making a change, and hearing about the progress with AB 705, I can say that this is good work. This work done to rid our institutions of evaluation methods that are not indicative of how a student will succeed in school is good work. But I hope that it is a given that while AB 705 is in place at community colleges for now and forever, the explicit intent and implementation will be a priority. As a student, I remember how daunting it can be to talk to an advisor or a counselor about attending a new school. And while I may feel unsure about some things, at the time it doesn't seem like it's in my best interest to speak up or raise questions. That's why students must be informed about their rights, especially regarding something that will affect at least 2 years of their lives if they're trying to get an associate's degree or a AA for the transfer. Low-income students especially do not have time to waste on extra classes. They do not have the resources to be held back years for classes they could find success in with just extra support. Equity populations, marginalized groups will be disproportionately affected by low implementation. So anyone viewing this as simply a school's choice should take this up with us in our futures. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we also have Andrew Nickens. You have control of your microphone. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Nickens, and I'm the VP of Legislative Affairs for the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. Before I start, I'd like to say thank you to the board for its statements and questions, and in particular, Member Kokonaka's statements. The unfortunate irony of this item on the Board of Governors agenda, and in particular its title, is not lost on the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. This is not a spotlight on success, but a point of continual failure. As we know, Assembly Bill 705 can trace its origins to a lawsuit settled in 1991 that was driven by inequitable assessment tests that disproportionately placed Latinx students into remedial prerequisite courses. Since then, Title V regulations were approved by this body, and these regulations offered co-requisites and multiple measures as a way to address this. However, due to a lack of systematic guidance and lack of enforcement, these discriminatory placement tests continued to be extensively used in ignorance of the challenges of students. AB 705 was supposed to be a wake-up call to the wake-up call, requiring colleges to adhere to regulations that were already in place. And yet, here we are again in the aftermath of AB 705. I will now read to you from the Public Advocate's report. Black and Latinx students disproportionately attend colleges that have maintained large remedial math offerings. Colleges serving over 2,000 Black students have double the rate of weak implementation of other colleges, with the vast majority continuing to offer more remedial sections than co-requisite supported transfer level sections. California community colleges have maintained large remedial course offerings despite clear evidence that these courses do not meet the legal standard of maximizing completion. And this is driving ongoing inequities in access and completion for Black and Latinx students. Stealing another line out of the report, course schedules are a statement about what colleges believe students should take. And it is clear that most colleges continue to operate from a belief that a lot of students don't belong in transfer level math. And this belief is driving both lower completion and racial inequities. Let me tell you that changing curriculum changes lives. One of my dear friends that attended college was stuck behind 3 prerequisite math classes in order to move on to his transfer level math, the last course he needed to graduate. He failed course after course and feared he would have to drop out and find a different path. AB 705 saved his academic dreams, removed his barriers, and allowed him to graduate. However, millions of students have not enjoyed this benefit, and the majority have been students of color. The students now say it is time for the wake-up call to the wake-up call to the wake-up call.
30 seconds.
We have gone from lawsuit to long-standing regulations to law, and still colleges ignore proven policy at the expense of their students of color and the economic success of their communities. So my question is, how do we ensure this wake-up call is the final one? How many more students of color are we going to let suffer before they are believed in? We strongly encourage the Board of Governors to show decisive leadership and direct the Chancellor's Office to take enforcement actions with those holdout institutions which remain non-compliant in terms of offering traditional remedial courses, using inequitable placement methods, and anti-student practices. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the last commenter for public comment.
Thank you so much for a very impactful conversation. Hopefully we've given direction to the Chancellor's Office staff, and you should do so with haste. We're now at almost 3:45. I would really like us to be able to complete all of our work at 5 o'clock. We have 2 more items, 6.4 and 6.5, and then we have board members' reports. I'm hoping we have few board member reports, but I'm mumbling that right now. So we're going to move to 6.4, which is the release of the governor's budget and state and federal legislative priorities. We have Vice Chancellor Navarrete and Vice Chancellor David O'Brien to co-present on this item.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, board members and President Haynes. I'm very pleased to co-present item 6.4 with Vice Chancellor Lizette Navarrete. my partner in all things advocacy. So the plan is I will kick us off and cover the first two attachments here, our 2021 legislative principles and a brief federal update, followed by Vice Chancellor Navarrete, who will discuss the release of the governor's 2021-22 state budget proposal. And the common theme you're going to see throughout this item is advocacy. Our role as advocates for the California Community College system and leaders. And we look forward to presenting even more on advocacy to you at our March board meeting, where we will discuss a roadmap for system advocacy in a post-COVID world. So looking at our item attachments, attachment 1 is an update to our Chancellor's Office legislative principles, which were first presented to the board by my predecessor, Vice Chancellor Laura Mattoon, in January of 2020. And the purpose of this document is it's intended to guide our legislative advocacy. As we consider things like what position to take on any given bill, we will refer to this document first and seek alignment with the vision for success. And I want to note a couple of key points here about the legislative principles document. First and foremost, we do very much want to thank our consultation council partners for their review and feedback on these principles at our December 2020 meeting. We had a very robust discussion about the principles. We made some additions and edits following that meeting. And as noted in the preface to the item, the adoption of these principles by the Chancellor's Office does not obligate us to take a position on every bill that comes before us. This is simply intended to guide that process. So every bill will still be fully evaluated on its own merits and weighed against other priorities, such as availability of resources, where it ranks in the sort of priority scale, and so forth. And although most of the principles you see here are holdovers from 2020, the world has, of course, changed in significant ways since then. Not just the COVID pandemic, but worldwide protests for racial justice, an economic recession from which we're very much hoping to recover equitably, which is a major theme of our advocacy this year, and which Vice Chancellor Navarrete will discuss in her budget update. And so I want to note that in addition to consultation council, on my own team, Assistant Vice Chancellor Linda Vasquez and our government relations team, and our Chancellor's Office executive team, Vice Chancellors, the Deputy Chancellor, and Chancellor Oakley, assisted us in reviewing all of these principles and suggesting edits and updates to them to reflect this new world that we live in. And you will see as you review them that our adopted principles cover many priority areas that we've brought to the board in recent months, such as access and affordability, including financial aid reform, our students' basic needs, guided pathways, and transfer. But we've also highlighted areas and added some that are increasingly relevant in light of the recent changes we've seen around the world, such as equitable access to technology, which has only been underscored further by the COVID pandemic and the move to online education, diversity, equity, and inclusion work, which we are highlighting more now as we move to the implementation phase of that report. And so recognizing our time, I had not planned to go through them in detail, but if there are any questions on any of these principles in attachment 1 that I can address, I would be happy to do so. When you're ready, board members, I can move on to the next attachment.
Are there any questions from the board on the attachment? Okay, then
Madam President.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a brief comment and question on the legislative principles document. As you know, there's a pretty historic legislative principle in here that I just want to point out and commend a couple people for advocating to include that in, and that's obviously the student leadership principle on the 5th page, last page up top there. And, of course, if the Board of Governors confirms these principles, supporting legislation that empowers students and elevates the student voices in policy development, especially around reducing inequities, achieving the vision for success goals, is exactly, what student leaders across the state in the community colleges have been saying is what needs to happen in order for us to really focus in on student equity and success. The student perspective is a critical tool in governance. So I wanted to commend Stephen Kadur. I wanted to commend Vice President Legislative Affairs Andrew Nickens, who you just heard give an amazing speech about AB 705. Both of them and the entire SSCCC for advocating that be included. I know they did wonders in consultation council. I had a couple questions on two remaining legislative principles. The remaining question I had for Mr. O'Brien was two legislative here that talk about neutrality. The first one is local governing boards maintain neutrality on legislation that affects the composition operations of local governing boards. And the one above it is the one I'm thinking of, which is that one, and the Board of Governors, obviously, the one that reads maintain neutrality on legislation affecting the Board of Governors composition or appointments and process. The question I have for you, Mr. O'Brien, is that, say hypothetically, bill were to for the board, and we were weighing in on whether or not to support, oppose, and it did fall under these categories. I heard you say earlier that each bill would still kind of be weighed on its own merit. Now, is that true in terms of this topic composition, or would it automatically be that the Board of Governors' hands are tied and we have to remain on that position? I just want to understand that, make sure and get that clarified.
Of course, and I understand that is that's a long-standing point, with this board that I believe predates my time with the Chancellor's office. To the point about each bill being considered individually, where there is a case where technically you could have one piece of legislation where that seemingly conflicts with another principle that is included here in this adopted document. We would discuss it internally. We would bring it to our consultation council. We're very fortunate that there is a process in place for looking at legislation that is very high profile of that nature. And frankly, we would consult with our Chancellor's office leadership. Nothing that high profile or potentially sensitive or controversial would just sort of automatically get a position from us. We want to recognize that there is a process that has been established. And I see Chancellor Oakley has thrown me a life raft in the form of unmuting himself.
Yes, if I could just speak briefly. I mean, so fundamentally, we should be very careful about encroaching on any authority that the governor of the state of California has over appointments. And so that is an issue that is reserved for the governor. And I certainly, support and honor any decisions that are made about the makeup of the Board of Governors. But I think that's the fundamental issue, is being careful not to encroach on the authority of the governor of the state of California through these efforts. I mean, certainly, as was the case with our most recent addition to the Board of Governors, I think we very much supported the issue, but we could not weigh in publicly over a decision that the governor, at the end of the day, needs to make over the composition of his or her own board that oversees us. And of course, the Chancellor's office, we are loath to weigh in on what my bosses should look like.
We were always for the Lieutenant Governor being on the board.
Well said, Chancellor.
Thank you, Chancellor.
So do you want to, Joseph, did you have a question?
Yeah, just wanted to ask a quick question around the principles. Did the subject of affordability come up at all when you guys were developing this? And if not, is there room to just add some language around affordability in there on the access or in another appropriate area?
Yes, very much so, board member. That's a good question. It's easily one of our top 3 to 5 policy areas that we're expecting to see addressed this year. And if you look under financial aid, that reflects the fact that it is continues to be a priority of ours to reform our state and federal financial aid systems to better cover the total cost of attendance and to reduce equity gaps that we see, for example, in our state Cal Grant program. And that's something that we're cautiously optimistic we may be able to actually accomplish this year if we can influence the legislation that the Student Aid Commission is intending to back.
Do you think that a language allows us to address things like the cost of textbooks? Is it broad enough? I mean, will that get at that?
That's a good question. I would note that we do additionally have a piece on access and basic needs. Traditionally, depending on how one defines the term, basic needs could include things, like that, but also financial aid, the fact that it addresses the total cost of college. Traditionally, the term cost of attendance does include the cost of textbooks. But if you're interested, I mean, certainly we can look into whether or not adding it would be appropriate.
Thank you.
To Board Member Fitzgerald's remarks, I just want to note that this is an information item. Yes.
Pam, can I make a comment?
Yes, Amy, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's an informational item, so I don't really know what we can do here, but I want to align myself with Joseph's comments, which is, financial aid and affordability are distinct concepts, and I support them both. But financial aid is who pays, and affordability is what you pay. And I do think that, especially in light of the pandemic, and to his point of textbooks as one area, we should as a system be looking at ways in which, we're making things more affordable.
So if I can just weigh in, I absolutely agree with both of you. The question for me is, when we talk about a broad legislative principles, I think I just want to make certain that if we move in that direction, that it's not specific to one textbooks, but it's a much broader principle that other things can fall under. And so I think it would be helpful for staff, both David and Lizette, to be thinking about maybe a broader principle if it's not encompassed within this particular statement. Colm, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam President. Just have a brief follow-up question, and then depending on that answer, maybe somebody else. So, Mr. O'Brien, what is the Board of Governors' authority in recommending potential changes to some of these principles? And I just want to be cautious there.
Yeah, I understand that question. And in terms of board governance rules, things like that, I'm not the expert, but I would note that, as an information item, the reason it's an information item because we don't want these to tie our hands too much. Our concern was that if we made it an action item and it was something that the board formally adopted, then we would lose some of that discretion that we have in terms of evaluating bills on an individual basis. And it might appear as though we're obligated to officially support every bill that falls under X category or Y category. So our thought was that it's not an edict. It gives us some flexibility. It's a guide for us as the Government Relations Division. So we are on the subject of the textbooks piece. We're more than happy to add some language in and discuss it with our consultation council at our next meeting to ensure that full communication, does take place and we're respecting the consultative process.
And what I would say is, I think what you've heard from a few members of the board is when those kinds of affordability issues come up within legislation, that there's an interest in at least bringing them to the board, because we do get those reports from you, and they can be highlighted that these fall under this particular area. I think that would be helpful in terms of bringing their voice into our decision-making process on what we support, what we are neutral on, and what we oppose.
President Haynes, I'm obligated to make on behalf of students, if I may.
Sure.
So I just want to speak briefly to the problems student leaders have with these neutrality principles, the two that I mentioned before. I completely understand that the Board of Governors must remain neutral, obviously on specific examples, such as the addition to the Lieutenant Governor. That seems, rather straightforward, and there's no quarrels there from student leaders. I think where it gets very is when you have a phrase that broad. For example, you know, on this one, or whether it be on local governing boards, while at the same time, the board in the same document is committing to supporting legislation that empowers students and elevates student voices in policy development. And then you have initiatives like empowering the first-year student member on the Board of Governors to vote. This is an initiative that's been going on for the last year. It's an initiative that we see replicated across the three systems of higher education. The UC Student Leaders Association and all the student leaders there with the student regents are advocating to have the first-year regent empowered with full rights and responsibilities. The Cal State Student Trustee Board already successfully advocated for the first-year student on that board with AB 5104 authored by Medina. And I worry that this language, and maybe Mr. Brown can speak to this, but I worry that this language would restrict and tie the hands of the Board of Governors to lead on an issue of significance, of that importance. The Board of Governors should be leading on issues of student empowerment. And we say we're going to lead on issues of student empowerment in this student leadership principle. But at the same time, with neutrality principles, such as the local board composition, where there's a huge movement right now within the Student Senate, and there has been for years, to empower student trustees on local governing boards. Again, I fear that this overarching language to restrict the Board of Governors from leading on an issue of that importance, from empowering students on local governing boards. And I'm just wondering if that language does do that, or if I'm maybe misconstruing the meaning of composition. But certainly I have already heard arguments that if these neutrality principles remain, that the Board of Governors would have a harder time supporting initiatives like I've just mentioned.
If I can clarify something real quick, though, that'll make it easier for our board president to respond. In the case of the Board of Regents decides the voting members. The Board of Regents appoints the student regent. In the case of the Board of Governors, the Board of Governors does not appoint the student members of the Board of Governors. The governor does. So there is a distinction there that I think is important to recognize as you're thinking about what kind of language the Board of Governors should adopt.
Well, I think this is an interesting conversation, and I think it needs to continue. And I'm hoping that it will, but not right now. And I mean, I don't mean that facetiously. I think that there are some challenges with student voice, and we do want to encourage it. We have to figure out the appropriate ways to do that. And so this is a continuing conversation that we do need to have, and I really appreciate you bringing the issues front and forward so that we can look at our processes and work with all of the parties relative to your comments. With that, I think we have the rest of the presentation, right, on the budget?
We do. There is a brief federal update, President Haynes, but I will be quick. Attachment 2 does provide an overview of some of our recent federal advocacy work. The first paragraph is a little bit out of date because the item was drafted prior to the passage of the recent federal stimulus package in late December. You have received updates on the stimulus and its impact on our community colleges, so I won't repeat that here. I'm happy to post a link in the chat to Vice Chancellor Navarrete and her division's excellent analysis of that Stimulus Act and estimates of how our system will benefit from it. I just want to take a quick moment to thank you as board members and system leaders for your advocacy and so many of other stakeholders who I know are listening in right now. We were very pleased to see that the allocation formula for higher education institutions under that stimulus was, in terms of our system, I think it's safe to call it more equitable than the CARES Act and some of the discussions this summer around whether it should use total enrollment headcount or exclusively full-time equivalent enrollment. And we were pleased to see that total enrollment headcount was part of that allocation formula. And while we won't know the final total that our system is going to receive from the stimulus for some time, estimates are as high as up to $1.2 billion, which would be double the amount our system received from the CARES Act. So your leadership as board members and system leaders was so critical on this. And we're going to ask you to do some more, including at our upcoming virtual fly-ins for federal advocacy in February that board leadership will be involved in, and we'll be reaching out to you soon to participate in meetings to continue to advocate for our priorities at the federal level under what we hope will be a more friendly administration. And so I know that was a quick update, but respecting our time, we do have a deep dive into the state budget that Vice Chancellor Navarrete will be presenting. Want to make sure to address any questions, if I can, on the federal before we move on to that budget update.
Are there any questions? Okay, I'm gonna pass that baton to Lizette.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you again, members of the Board of Governors, Board President Haynes. I will present to you briefly the governor's 21-22 budget. So let's move to the next slide, please. So we'll also cover some of the next steps as part of this budget. But I'll first start by saying that the outlook for the state of California has improved. That's a sign of, that's a relief to our colleges and to our students. The general fund for the state has improved to 164 billion in spending, and community colleges, as members or part of Prop 98, are seeing a more positive outlook in Prop 98, now at $88.1 billion. So a lot of questions still remain about the state budget. One of them is that the discrepancies and the differences between Prop 98 increases and the general fund. And we highlight the general fund because many of our advocacy does fall under the general fund, the non-98 side, especially Cal Grants. And you've seen this in LAO reports that we've sent to you, and the governor reiterated this, but in out years, the state is still expecting a deficit. And the driving question is whether these improvements will be lasting or temporary. But again, we're seeing one-time dollars. We're glad to see this, and we want to put them to good use. So let me tell you a little bit more about this year's budget. Next slide, please. The first thing you'll note is that this budget process will look a little bit different. We're in the phase of the square yellow box where the governor released the analysis or the proposal. The Legislative Analyst's Office will release their analysis, and subcommittees for the budget will begin. Much of that will be on a fast track pace this year. Budget hearings are going to begin in February. And before the May revise is released, the legislature is also planning to consider something known as the early action package. This would be a package of bills or package of spending that would help with the COVID-19 response, recovery, and support Californians in most need, and would go into effect in spring to help move forward the state. So an action-packed year. So let's go into details about the community college proposal. Next slide, please. For community colleges, the governor in the 21-22 proposal includes around $600 million in one-time and ongoing spending, a 1.5% COLA, and 0.5% growth. The total computational revenue for the student-centered funding formula increases by $231 million. Next slide, please. For Prop 98, here just you see a quick comparison of all Prop 98 and the trajectory over the last few years, showing around a 5% change and increase in comparison to last year. Again, positive news and news that we hope will be sustained through the May revise and through the passage of the early action package. Next slide, please. So last year when we reported on the budget, the 2021 budget, I shared with you that there were $1.45 billion in deferrals. And so the governor is proposing to pay down a majority of those deferrals, over 70% of them, $1.13 billion, paying those in 21-22. but the state would continue and carry forward a balance of 327 in deferrals. Think of them as IOUs from the state that would be anticipated to be paid in 22-23. So that's what we're seeing. So net new revenue is lowered because of this, but we're glad to see that the vast majorities of deferrals are going to be paid or proposed to be paid. Next slide, please. So I want to connect to the conversation we've been having about affordability and student basic needs. And just like we've been hearing the canary in the coal mine, our students have been sharing for many years that they are not receiving enough financial aid to meet their basic needs. And so when this pandemic hit, it hit our students hardest, because they weren't adequately supported by Cal Grants, had less access to aid, and are often older with familial responsibilities. So this proposal includes $250 million one-time proposal for emergency assistance grants. 100 million of those would be included as part of the early action package that will be considered this spring. But I want to mention that these are one-time in nature. We still have an ongoing disparity in the resources available to our students. And as part of our advocacy, I hope the Board of Governors will join me and my colleague David O'Brien in reminding the legislature that we still need a long-term solution to financial aid. Next slide, please. There is more around affordability and specifically around basic needs. There is a one-time proposal of $100 million to address housing and food insecurity, and a block grant type proposal for $30 million ongoing for mental health services, just as we've seen included in our system budget request, and resources to utilize to support students in internet devices and online learning tools that they may need. An intriguing proposal is one to require all high school seniors to complete the FAFSA or CADA. And in terms of learning needs, we see a $20 million one-time investment for retention and re-enrollment of our students. Another piece that we're glad to see that was part of our system budget request is for online infrastructure, $10.6 million. And I want to highlight for many of you that have emphasized the need to look at zero textbook cost pathways. There is a proposal for $15 million one time for zero textbook cost pathways. This would build off of a 2016 grant that went out focusing on zero textbook cost degrees. And so this builds off of that and continues the momentum so that we can address that element of affordability. Next slide, please. Around diversity, equity, and inclusion, we see an investment in the call to action, $600,000 for the Chancellor's Office to coordinate efforts around anti-racism in academia. And part of our conversations will include the need for potential alignment with ethnic studies requirements at the California State University system. Another proposal that we'll have many conversations, and we're waiting for further trailer bill to be released to provide more details. But this proposal will be for actionable plans to close equity gaps. Districts will be required to craft plans as a condition to receive the cost of living adjustment. Again, we look forward to receiving more details on how we can create greater alignment with the Vision for Success and other plans that are currently in place at our colleges and districts. Next slide, please. Around workforce, two that I'll highlight are efforts to expand work-based learning, $20 million one time to expand work-based learning models and programs at our colleges, exciting news and much needed, and $15 million ongoing to expand the California Apprenticeship Initiative. If these look familiar, it's because they were included in the January 2020 budget before the pandemic hit. There is another placeholder proposal for workforce that we will engage in and hopefully see at the May revise. Next slide, please. Two last proposals that I'll highlight. One is around online learning. The budget summary highlights that they would like colleges to maintain a higher proportion of online courses than they offered in 2018-2019, 10% higher. This is a proposal that will engage in conversations to understand the intent and how best to accomplish that intent. And as Chancellor Oakley mentioned in his opening comments, there's going to be a lot of conversation around cross-sector alignment, transfer, and an opportunity that is very exciting around establishing dual admission processes with the University of California and the California State University. And we will do everything we can to be at the table, to be part of those conversations, to ensure that our students' best interests are met as these proposals take life. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about some of the next steps very briefly, and where Vice Chancellor O'Brien and I partner in our effort. So first, I know I went through this information very quickly, so I want to encourage you to review the comprehensive joint analysis that we've crafted, and want to thank the organizations that help review that, ACA, ACBO, and the League that are key reviewers in our joint analysis. Take a look at that. Many more details are included in there, including tables about key programs, various categoricals, and the COLAs that they're receiving. And then you will also see a side-by-side alignment and comparison to our system budget request and what was included in the governor's budget. I mentioned the Assembly and Senate will begin their hearings in February. And so this is about a month and a half earlier than we typically see them. That means that we will also engage early and often. The Chancellor's Office will be engaged in advocacy at every step of the way. For advocacy, we've planned another virtual advocacy day, a town hall for our Board of Governors to participate, and where we can share your priorities and how we can best support and partner with our partner organizations to ensure that the budget best serves our students and colleges. With that, I will pause, turn it back to President Haynes, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for that presentation. So do we have questions from our board members on the budget?
Pam, it's Amy. You know I have a question about this.
Amy. Speak up.
Thank you, Lizette and David. This was the joint analysis was excellent. The written materials you provided to us, and I thought it was a great overview. I want to commend you on really getting some of the things that we as a board talked about included in the governor's budget, including zero cost pathways, not just degrees, which is very exciting. And of course, the deferral repayment, although not complete, is significant. And I do think that that's going to help our colleges. You know, when I look at, the revenue chapter in the budget and the component pieces of the personal income tax, I'm deeply concerned about just the state and the stability of the budget. And I do think it provides us with an opportunity. But given a lot of the funding, Lizette, that you described as one-time in nature, both for emergency financial aid for our students, both in the current year and in the budget year, as well as some enrollment dollars. How are we thinking about administering these funds to the students? In what way are we thinking about that? Especially because it's pronounced now, but as you noted in your presentation, this is a long-term issue for our students. And we may have an opportunity with this one-time money to show a program that really does help our students complete.
Great. Thank you. And thank you also for highlighting that, we need a long-term strategy. And so a couple of things that I want to emphasize, and I mentioned this briefly, but I really want to emphasize it. We respectfully need to not let the legislature think that with an allocation of one-time emergency dollars, that the work around financial aid is done. And so there are a couple of areas that we can focus on. One is getting the early action dollars out early, supporting that happening, being approved in the spring so that we can get some dollars there, retain our students. Two opportunities align in terms of who we typically provide financial aid to, looking at populations that are often left out of the Cal Grant, so older students, working learners, and those are ones. But there's also around recruitment and retention, and how do we package early on to our students that they have support. And so those are two areas I'll highlight that are in the budget where we want to have conversations with districts to build robust opportunities. And then others that are all happening on the fringes that you don't necessarily see highlighted in the budget, but work around zero textbook cost pathways, efforts to connect our students to CalFresh, all pieces, part of the affordability conversation that we must keep at the forefront. And I know my colleague David O'Brien is also works on those efforts as well.
Other questions? Oh, Hildy, I see your hand up. And then Felicia.
You're muted, Hildy.
Sorry about that.
You're good. Oh.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. I was in the process of passing the microphone to Felicia because I know her hand was up for much longer than mine was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Hildy, go ahead. Okay, so my comment was just a shout out to the staff and to the governor's office, because I think one of the most distinct parts of this budget that stick out for me are the $600,000 in one-time funding for the coordination of system-wide anti-racism initiatives. And I think that the work that underlies that is just so incredibly important, goes to the heart of everything we've been talking about today, especially the progress that we've been making with AB 705. So I just wanted to thank the staff for fighting so hard for this funding, and to the governor's office for sharing it with us.
Yep, and my comments actually were going to be similar, to kind of just shout out the funding that is being provided for the diversity, equity, inclusion work. I know we've spent, as I think back to last year, our board meetings, this has been a topic of discussion, and that, Hildy and others really led on with Daisy and much bigger number of folks across our community college family. So I really was also very pleased to see this in here. I'm wondering if maybe you can say a little bit more about the, what the coordination is going to look like, what you'd like it to look like, if it's got a different flavor that these dollars would be helpful towards, or maybe it's just kind of continuing to redouble and move our efforts forward, which is also fine as well, because I think they have been, you really have been moving the ball forward. And I want to just thank you for that. I think that, this idea of kind of tying COLA to folks actually having actionable plans is also something that, you have to really, give people carrots and sticks to get folks to do the work sometimes. And so I think that is a creative way to hopefully move the ball forward for everybody. So that's all I had to say. And just, if there's anything more you can share about how the $600,000 you're proposing to be used, that would be great.
Thank you, and thank you both for your comments. Around the proposal for $600,000 for the Chancellor's Office to coordinate, much of this work will be led by my esteemed colleagues in the Education Services and Supports Unit in coordination with Dr. Gonzalez, our Deputy Chancellor, who've really been leading this conversation. There are the multiple components that need to be looked at is, what are our long-term goals and what are some of the short-term goals? We envision that it may be shaped similar to some of the work that's been happening around a commission on athletics. And then more details will be crafted very shortly so that we can be ready to hit the ground running once the funds are approved. My next step is to make sure that that funding stays in there and then we get it through the finish line.
Are there any other questions from board members? Tom, you don't have a question? Where's Tom?
No, I think I used up all my questions in the Calbright meeting.
Okay, well, so where do we go from here relative to some of the program elements? So for example, there is an allocation, where is it, for workforce? Where is it? I think it's 20 million. Oh God, I can't find it now.
There are a couple of allocations for workforce that fall in the category of workforce. One that doesn't have any details. We'll be engaging in conversations with stakeholders, the Department of Finance, the legislature, what could be included in that proposal, and then hopefully see some more details at May revise. Around the 20 million for work-based learning, that will be something that will be led by our Workforce and Economic Development Division, led by Vice Chancellor Shini Weber. And similarly, she works closely with California Apprenticeship Initiative to expand those. So the many ideas that they'll have on how that takes shape.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because it seems to me, given the economic realities of so many Californians, that workforce is going to be critical. And so being at the table and advocating a perspective and a direction from the Board of Governors, but from the Chancellor's office, I think is critically important at this time. We wear multiple hats, but on one side of that ledger is workforce development and career education, and on the other side, and these are parallel tracks in my own opinion, and they're much closer than sometimes we think, is the academic transfer or an associate degree track. And so I just want to make certain that our voices are at every table we need to be at to ensure that that we help to frame the direction that the state is going with regard to those issues, because we impact so many students. Other questions? Okay, well then I am going to ask for public comment. Is there any public comment?
Public comment period for this item is now open. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to make a comment to the board. If you are calling into the meeting, use *9 to activate the raise hand feature. A member of the Chancellor's office will call on you and allow you to speak your public comment. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
We do have public comment. Debbie Klein, you have control of your mic. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon and happy New Year.
Can we get Debbie back?
Hello?
We can. I think there was an error. Sorry, go ahead, Debbie.
Oh, no problem. I was just doing my long greeting. So greetings, everyone. And this is Debbie, President of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. FAC is grateful for a budget proposal that is more promising than we anticipated a few months ago. We look forward to working with the Chancellor's office to support funding for faculty diversity, professional development, part-time faculty support, and other critical investments that will increase success for our students. Moreover, we see this budget as an opportunity to leverage state and federal resources to increase funding for student basic needs and programs like EOPS. We're super excited to collaborate with our system partners in budget advocacy this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Larry Galizio. You have control of your mic. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Larry Galizio with the League, and President Haynes, Vice President Costa, members of the board, Chancellor Oakley. Happy New Year. Looking forward to tomorrow when we have a community college professor, Dr. Biden in the White House. So it's very exciting. First, I wanted to extend a invitation, a personal invitation to all the members of the Board of Governors and the Chancellor and really anyone who is participating in this meeting to our annual legislative conference, which of course will be virtual this year. It will be January 25th and January 26th. And we have speakers such as Assembly Member and Chair Jose Medina, Connie Leyva, Chair of the Senate Education Committee, and also talking a lot about advocacy and more analysis of the budget. The League is pleased with the governor's budget, and I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, who I'm sure had something to do with this budget, and the recognition that our students have been hit the hardest by this pandemic and the recession, and also the racial reckoning and incidents, and what we're experiencing right now. Our students have been hit the hardest, and this budget recognizes that we have to support those students. At the same time, these are not one-time problems, and so we do need more ongoing dollars. A 1.5% COLA compared to a 3.84% COLA for K-12 is not acceptable, and we have to avoid the situation that we had in the Great Recession, where community college capacity was cut and 600,000 Californians were left without a place for career and transfer education. So finally, I would say that we're really looking at, instead of a K-shaped economy and recovery, where those who are already doing well are doing even better, we need an equity-based recovery and an equity-based economy, and community colleges are obviously uniquely positioned to facilitate this. So we look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you so much. Other comments?